The satellite disintegrated at 17,000 miles per hour. Vought 7 broke apart over Manhattan at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, metal fragments screaming through the atmosphere like dying stars. The comm tower sheared off first, tumbling end over end, trailing fire. Then the solar array, spinning panels reflecting sunlight in deadly flashes. The main body split along stress fractures, spilling components across 6 miles of sky. Below, in the shadow of Vought Tower, Ashley Barrett's phone erupted with alerts. She stared at the screen, watching the trajectory projections paint red lines across a map of New York City. 15,000 people in the impact zone, maybe more. "Get him in the air," she said into her headset. "Now." Homelander stood on the tower's observation deck, cape rippling in manufactured wind from the climate control. He'd been posing for a promotional shoot, arms crossed, jaw set, that practiced smile. The photographer's camera died mid-click as every device in the building diverted power to emergency systems. "We need you airborne," Ashley's voice crackled through his earpiece. "Satellite debris, catastrophic failure. You have 90 seconds before impact." He was through the reinforced glass before she finished the sentence. The city tilted beneath him as he climbed, buildings shrinking to toys, people to dots. His eyes tracked the falling debris through 30 miles of atmosphere. 17 major pieces, 42 smaller fragments. He ran the calculations automatically, the way he'd been trained, save the biggest chunks first. Let the small ones burn up. Acceptable casualties, 12 to 15 if he was efficient. The cameras would love it. He reached the first piece, a 1,000-pound reaction wheel assembly, and caught it against his chest. The metal screamed, still burning from re-entry, hot enough to melt steel. He barely felt it. Banking hard, he hurled it toward the Hudson, watching it splash down between 2 barges. 16 pieces left, 80 seconds. Below, phones turned skyward. A dozen news helicopters scrambled. This was prime coverage, Homelander saving the city. Again. He made sure to face the cameras as he intercepted the comm tower, biceps flexing as he redirected its trajectory. The photographer from the shoot was probably already editing the footage, adding dramatic music. 13 pieces. 60 seconds. He couldn't get them all. The math didn't work. But if he prioritized the pieces heading for Times Square in Midtown, where the cameras were, he could minimize the bad optics. A few impacts in the outer boroughs, places without good footage, that was manageable. Ashley would spin it. She always did. That's when the sky turned red and blue. Homelander twisted midair, tracking movement his eyes almost couldn't follow. Something streaked past him, moving faster than anything he'd ever seen. Not a missile, not another soup. The sonic boom hit him a half-second later, hard enough to tumble him sideways. He steadied himself, jaw clenched, and watched. The figure caught the antenna array, the largest piece, the one Homelander had calculated would hit somewhere in Queens, and simply stopped its momentum. No strain, no struggle, just caught it like someone catching a baseball. Then moved again, that same impossible speed, red cape streaming behind him. Homelander's eyes narrowed. He activated his enhanced vision, trying to track the blur. Another piece caught. Another. The figure moved between falling debris like threading a needle, each intercept precise and effortless. No wasted movement, no showboating, just pure, efficient rescue. In 45 seconds, every remaining piece of Vought 7 was either deposited safely in the river or slowed to a harmless descent into empty lots. Every single one. The figure hovered for a moment over Midtown, silhouetted against the afternoon sun. Broad shoulders, billowing cape, an S-shield catching the light on his chest. Then he was gone. The silence stretched for 3 full seconds before the screaming started. Not panic, wonder. Phones everywhere, 1,000 cameras pointed at empty sky. Homelander descended slowly, landing in Times Square to scattered applause that felt muted, distracted. Did you see that? Who was that? Was that Homelander? No, different costume. Did you see how fast? A reporter shoved a microphone toward him. "Homelander, can you comment on the mysterious hero who just, I had everything under control," Homelander said, his smile sharp and bright and utterly perfect. "Team effort, that's what heroism is about."
Impacts in the outer boroughs, places without good footage, that was manageable. Ashley would spin it. She always did that. That's when the sky turned red and blue. Homelander twisted midair, tracking movement his eyes almost couldn't follow. Something streaked past him, moving faster than anything he'd ever seen. Not a missile. Not another soup. The sonic boom hit him a half-second later, hard enough to tumble him sideways that he steadied himself, jaw clenched, and watched. The figure caught the antenna array, the largest piece, the one Homelander had calculated would hit somewhere in Queens, and simply stopped its momentum. No strain. No struggle. Just caught it like someone catching a baseball. Then moved again, that same impossible speed, red cape streaming behind him. Homelander's eyes narrowed. He activated his enhanced vision, trying to track the blur. Another piece caught. Another. The figure moved between falling debris like threading a needle, each intercept precise and effortless. No wasted movement. No showboating. Just pure, efficient rescue. In 45 seconds, every remaining piece of Vought 7 was either deposited safely in the river or slowed to a harmless descent into empty lots. Every single one. The figure hovered for a moment over Midtown, silhouetted against the afternoon sun, broad shoulders, billowing cape, an S-shield catching the light on his chest. Then he was gone. The silence stretched for 3 full seconds before the screaming started. Not panic, wonder. Phones everywhere, 1,000 cameras pointed at empty sky. Homelander descended slowly, landing in Times Square to scattered applause that felt muted. Distracted. Did you see that? Who was that? Was that Homelander? No, different costume. Did you see how fast? A reporter shoved a microphone toward him. Homelander. Can you comment on the mysterious hero who just, I had everything under control, Homelander said, his smile sharp and bright and utterly perfect. Team effort. That's what heroism is about.
His eye twitched. Overhead, the news helicopters were already replaying footage, trying to capture clear images of the red and blue blur. In Vought Tower, Ashley was screaming into 3 phones simultaneously. On a rooftop in Brooklyn, a man in a black coat watched through binoculars, his scarred face splitting into something that might have been a smile. And in an alley in Queens, Clark Kent pulled himself from a pile of garbage bags, his head ringing, his costume intact, but his sense of where he was completely shattered. The last thing he remembered was the dimensional breach, the tearing sensation, the colors bleeding wrong, and then falling. Now this. Buildings too tall, signs everywhere, glowing advertisements for something called Vought. People with phones recording everything. And that other man in the sky, the one with the cape, who'd been saving people but whose eyes had promised murder. Clark looked up using his enhanced hearing to sample the city. Unregistered soup. Vought stock dropping. Homelander looked pissed. Who the hell was that? He closed his eyes and focused. This wasn't Kansas. This wasn't even his Earth. He could hear it in the frequency of the satellites, see it in the constellations visible through the daylight. Everything was wrong. Everything was different. And something in this world felt corrupt. Clark focused his hearing, filtering through the city's chaos. 5 million conversations, car horns, subway rumbles, heartbeats. He sorted through them the way he'd learned as a child, isolating threads. Stock implications are significant. Vought International's satellite infrastructure. Mystery soup appeared out of nowhere. No registration, no file. Madeline, we need damage control. If he's not one of ours. That last voice came from inside the massive tower, dominating the skyline. He could see it from here, even through the alley walls. 70 stories of glass and steel with a massive stylized V at the summit. His vision penetrated the outer walls easily, showing floors of cubicles, boardrooms, and something else. Something deeper. Laboratories. reinforced levels that looked almost military.
He pulled back, uncomfortable. Looking through walls without permission felt wrong, but he needed to understand where he was. The nearest conversation was 3 feet away. Clark turned to see a woman in a business suit, phone pressed to her ear, walking past the alley entrance. Totally insane. A train couldn't move that fast if his life depended on it. And did you see Homelander's face? He looked like someone kicked his dog. She laughed. Voughts going to lose their minds over this. Unregistered soup activity is illegal, but you can't exactly arrest someone who just saved 10,000 people. Clark stepped from the alley. Excuse me. The woman jumped, phone nearly slipping from her hand. She looked him up and down, jeans, flannel shirt, glasses, and relaxed slightly. Jesus, you scared me. I'm sorry. I'm new to the city. Could you tell me what year this is? She blinked. What year? It's 2024. Are you okay? I'm fine. Thank you. He smiled, that practice Kansas smile Ma had taught him. Friendly. Harmless. The woman nodded slowly and walked away, glancing back twice. Same year he'd left. Different Earth. Clark walked, listening. Every block taught him something new. The advertisements were everywhere, heroes. Playing on screens the size of buildings. Energy drinks endorsed by someone called The Deep. A reality show, American Hero. Posters of the 7 plastered on every surface, their faces perfect and polished and somehow hollow. He passed a Vought burger, then a Vought financial branch, then a storefront selling action figures of people in costumes. The 7, the packaging said. America's premier superhero team, premier. Team. Like a brand. A teenager bumped into him, barely looking up from her phone. Clark steadied her automatically, and she glanced at his hand on her arm. Oh my God, are you a soup? Can I get a picture? I'm not. What's a soup? She street. Art at him like he'd grown a second head. Superhero. You know, someone with powers. Compound V. When he didn't respond, she rolled her eyes. Okay, weirdo. She walked away, but not before he caught the tail end of her phone conversation. Some guy pretending he doesn't know what a soup is, probably just wants attention.
Subject 10. Expired. They were experimenting on people. Clark's hands clenched. These weren't heroes. They were products. Manufactured, marketed, controlled. And the ones doing the controlling didn't care who got hurt as long as the cameras kept rolling. His phone, his Earth's phone, useless here, felt heavy in his pocket. No way home, no Justice League, no support. Just him, alone, in a world that had turned heroism into a commodity. Below, people walked past Vought advertisements, trusting, believing, not knowing the truth. Clark pulled off his glasses, cleaning them on his shirt. The motion was automatic, calming. When he put them back on, his jaw was set. He couldn't go home, but he could still help. A scream cut through his thoughts, genuine terror, not staged. A woman's voice, 3 blocks north, then a man's laugh, cruel and entitled. Clark jumped. The roof blurred beneath him. He crossed 3 blocks in less than a second, landing in an alley where a man in a dark costume, some kind of hero outfit but wrong, predatory, had a woman pressed against a wall. Hey, Clark said quietly. The man turned, grinning. Fuck off. I'm the extractor. I'm a licensed... Clark grabbed his wrist, gently. The man's bones didn't break, but his grin disappeared. Let her go. Do you know who I... Clark squeezed, just slightly. The extractor's face went white, and he released the woman. She ran. This city has rules, the extractor hissed. Unlicensed hero activity is... I'm not a hero, Clark said. He released the man's wrist and stepped back. I'm just someone who doesn't like bullies. The extractor stumbled away, cradling his arm. Vaught's going to hear about this. They'll find you. They find everyone.
Clark watched him go, then looked up at Vought Tower, visible even from here. Let them try. Ashley Barrett hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her office in Vought Tower looked like a hurricane had hit it. Coffee cups, printouts, tablet screens showing endless loops of satellite footage. Every screen showed the same impossible blur, the same red cape, the same complete absence of useful data. Nothing. Madeline Stillwell stood in the doorway, immaculate in a white suit despite the 4 a.m. hour. No facial recognition match. No birth records. No social security number. No registered soup file anywhere in the database. Ashley gestured at the screens helplessly. It's like he doesn't exist. And believe me, if someone with that power level existed, we'd know. Madeline crossed to the window, looking down at the city. Power assessment. Preliminary analysis suggests strength comparable to Homelander, possibly greater. Flight capability, obvious. Speed significantly exceeds A train's maximum velocity. We clocked him at Mach 7 during the satellite intercept. Ashley pulled up another screen. And this is the concerning part. He caught a 1,000-pound piece of debris traveling at terminal velocity and stopped it. Instantly. No deceleration, no struggle. Just stopped it. Homelander can do that. Homelander would show strain. This guy didn't even flinch. Madeline's expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened on her briefcase. Where is he now? We don't know. Facial recognition flagged him once yesterday afternoon, coffee shop in Brooklyn, civilian clothes, but he disappeared before we could deploy a team. Ashley pulled up a blurry image. Dark hair, glasses, unremarkable features. He's good at blending in. Then make him not want to blend in. Madeline turned from the window. I want a meeting arranged. Use whatever channels necessary. If he's saving people, he's a Epping on our territory. He needs to understand how this city works. And if he refuses, he won't. Madeline's smile was surgical. Everyone wants something, Ashley. We just need to find out what. 3 floors above, Homelander stood in his penthouse, replaying the satellite footage for the 47th time. His jaw ached from clenching. The mirror showed his reflection, perfect.
Face, perfect hair, perfect costume. But all he could see was that moment when the blur had passed him. Faster, stronger, better. No, not possible. He was Homelander. He was the best, the strongest, the most powerful being on the planet. That's what they'd told him his entire life, what the tests proved, what the public believed. His fist went through the mirror. Glass tinkled to the floor, and he stared at his fractured reflection. Blood welled from his knuckles, not much, barely more than a scratch, but enough to remind him he could bleed. Find him, he said to the empty room. I don't care what it takes. Find him. Across the city, in a basement that officially didn't exist, Billy Butcher studied the same footage on a cracked laptop. Huey Campbell stood behind him, arms crossed, watching the blur intercept falling debris with impossible precision. That's not Compound V, Marvin Milk said from the corner. He was cleaning his gun methodically, the way he always did when thinking. Nobody moves like that. Not even Homelander on his best day. Could be a new formula, Frenchie suggested, not looking up from the chemical analysis he was running. Vought has been experimenting with enhancement protocols. It ain't Vought. Butcher's voice was flat, certain. He zoomed in on the one clear frame they'd managed to capture, the figure hovering, cape spread, that symbol on his chest. Look at him. Really look. That's not the face of someone who takes orders. Huey leaned closer. Even in the blurry image, something about the figure's posture radiated. What? Not arrogance like Homelander. Not the calculated heroism of the Seven's PR shots. Something genuine. He saved everyone, Huey said quietly. Every single piece of debris. Homelander was going to let some of them fall. Course he was. Butcher closed the laptop. Question is, does this new cunt know that? Does he key? Now what Vought really is? Or is he another one of their lab experiments gone rogue? Only one way to find out, said. He stopped cleaning his gun, looked at Butcher. We find him first, before Vought does whatever they're planning. Already working on it, Butcher stood, reaching for his coat. That coffee shop in Brooklyn, paid cash, but the barista remembered him, said he seemed confused, asked weird questions about the year. He grinned, sharp and dangerous. Boy's not from around here. Might be we can help him understand the lay of the land. Clark Kent. He'd decided to use his real name, since aliases seemed pointless when half the city was looking for him, bought a bagel from a street vendor and walked through Central Park. Normal clothes, glasses on, just another face in the crowd. Except he could hear them tracking him. Satellite realignment, focusing on this sector. Radio chatter from Vought security teams. Someone following him 3 blocks back. Professional, trained, but not enhanced. Human. He'd helped 7 people since last night. A heart attack victim, carried to the hospital in seconds. A building fire, everyone evacuated before the trucks arrived. A mugging stopped with a hand on the attacker's shoulder. A child who'd wandered from her parents, reunited in moments. Each time, he'd left before anyone could get a clear photo. Each time, he'd heard the frustration in the Vought channels. They wanted to find him. He wasn't making it easy. The man following him was getting closer. Clark could hear his heartbeat. Steady, calm, professional. Not Vought. Someone else. He slowed his pace, letting the distance close, curious. A voice behind him, rough with a British accent. Oi! Got a minute, mate? Clark turned. The man was maybe 50, scarred face, dark coat, and eyes that had seen too much. Behind him, 50 yards back and trying to look casual, 3 others. Younger man with nervous energy. Older man, military bearing. Thin Frenchman with sharp features. Not Vought. Something else entirely. That depends, Clark said carefully. Who's asking? The scarred man smiled, but it didn't reach. His eyes. Name's Butcher. Billy Butcher. And I think you and I need to have a chat about this city's idea of heroism. He pulled out a phone, showed Clark an image. Homelander shaking hands with a politician. That perfect smile. See, you saved a lot of people 2 days ago. Real heroic, that. But the cunt in this picture? He lets people die. On purpose. For ratings. Clark's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes hardened.
Butcher's smile widened. Yeah. Thought that might interest you. So what do you say? Want to learn what you really saved those people from? Behind them, 3 blocks north, a Vought surveillance van turned the corner. The driver spoke into his radio. Target acquired. Central Park, East Side. Multiple unknowns approaching. Recommend immediate extraction team. In Vought Tower, Ashley's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, then grabbed her jacket. Madeline. We found him. Clark heard the van's engine before Butcher finished speaking. 3 heartbeats inside, weapons drawn. The driver's radio crackle. Extraction team en route, ETA 2 minutes. Your friends are coming, Clark said. Butcher's eyes narrowed. How'd you? He caught himself, grinned. Right. Super hearing. Handy. He gestured to his team. Time to go, lads. I don't run from people. You will from these cunts. Butcher grabbed Clark's arm, froze when Clark didn't budge, might as well have been grabbing a mountain, and changed tactics. Listen, mate. Vought wants you in a lab, wants to figure out what makes you tick. Then they'll either put you on a leash or put you in the ground. Your choice is come with us and learn the truth, or wait here and see how many civilians get hurt when they try to take you. Clark looked at the van. At the families in the park. At Butcher's scarred face. Lead the way. They moved fast. Butcher's team knew the city's blind spots, the gaps in surveillance. The nervous younger man, Huey, Butcher called him, kept glancing at Clark like he was trying to solve an equation. The military swept their path with tactical precision. The Frenchman, Frenchie, hummed something cheerful while picking a lock to a service entrance. In here. Butcher led them into an abandoned subway station, deeper into tunnels that smelled of rust and old water. Vought owns half the city above ground, but down here. This is ours. The hideout was exactly what Clark expected from people operating outside the law. Concrete walls, exposed pipes, computers jerry-rigged from salvaged parts. But it was organized. Purposeful. These weren't criminals. They were hunters. Right. Butcher pulled up footage on a monitor. Since you're new to our lovely city, let me give you the tour. This is Compound V. He showed Clark a vial of glowing blue liquid. Miracle drug. One shot, and you're a soup. Super strength, flight, whatever genetic lottery you win. Vaught's been manufacturing it for decades.
Clark stared at the vial. Manufacturing. These powers aren't natural. Every single one of them, Huey spoke up, his voice tight. They inject babies, toddlers. Tell the parents it's a vaccine or a vitamin shot. Then when the kid manifests powers, Vought swoops in with contracts and lawyers and... He stopped, swallowed. And they own them. Forever. Pulled up more files. Homelander, A-Train, Queen Maeve, The Deep. All of them started in Vought labs, raised in facilities, trained to smile for cameras, taught that saving people is a business transaction. And if the formula goes wrong, Frenchie added quietly, if the child dies or becomes unstable, or the powers are not marketable. He made a cutting gesture. Buried, disappeared. The numbers, they are not small. Clark's hands clenched. He thought of the conversation he'd overheard. Subject 10 expired during testing. You're telling me every hero in this city is a product? Not just this city. Butcher pulled up a world map, dots scattered across continents. Global operation, Vought International. They've got franchises in 40 countries, hundreds of soups under contract. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. He leaned forward. And you, mate? You're the first one they didn't make. First one they don't control. That scares them shitless. Show him the rest, said grimly. Butcher cycled through files. News articles about soup-related deaths, always settled out of court. Internal memos discussing acceptable collateral damage. Video footage of staged rescues, heroes arriving after Vought created the emergency. A recording of Homelander in a meeting, voice cold. Why would I save them? What do I get out of it? This one. Huey's voice cracked. He pulled up a traffic camera still. A young woman, frozen mid-step. Robin, my girlfriend. A-Train ran through her going to a call that wasn't even an emergent. CI. Vought PR stunt. He killed her and didn't even stop. His hands shook. They paid her family $50,000 and made them sign an NDA. Clark stood slowly. Every instinct in him wanted to fly straight to Vought Tower, to tear it down floor by floor until someone answered for this. But he forced himself to think, to listen. Why are you showing me this? Because you saved all those people 2 days ago. Butcher met his eyes. No hesitation, no calculation, no checking if the cameras were rolling. You just did it. That's not what soups do here. That's what heroes do. And mate, we could use a real hero. What do you want from me?
Same thing we've always wanted. Butcher's voice went hard. Vought destroyed. The truth exposed. Every single one of those corporate cunts held accountable for what they've done. He gestured at the files. We've been collecting evidence for years. But we're just people. Normal, powerless people. We can't touch Homelander. Can't stop the Seven. Can't even get close to the labs where they're still experimenting. He paused. But you? You're the first thing they can't control. The first thing that scares them. Clark looked at the screens, at decades of corruption and death. At a world that had taken the idea of heroism and turned it into a franchise. He thought of Ma and Pa, of the values they'd taught him. Truth. Justice. Protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. I'm not here to start a war, he said quietly. Didn't ask you to. Butcher smiled. Just asking you to do what you already do. Save people. Be a hero. The difference is, now you know what you're up against. An alarm beeped on one of the monitors. Frenchie cursed in French. They are sweeping the area. 4 teams, heavy weapons. Vought doesn't give up, said. They'll keep searching. And eventually, they'll find this place. Clark moved to the monitor, studying the search pattern. 4 teams, 30 men total, scanning for thermal signatures. Above them, on the street level, he could hear civilians going about their day. Unaware. Unprotected. If they find you because of me, then we move. Butcher clapped him on the shoulder, seeming surprised when Clark didn't shift. Not our first rodeo. But here's the thing, mate. They're not just looking for you. They're looking for anyone who might know you. Anyone who might have helped you. And Vought? They don't do subtle. As if summoning them, Clark's hearing caught a conversation 3 blocks away. Vought agents, voices crisp and professional. Order. S from Stillwell. Find the target. Use whatever force necessary. Civilian casualties are acceptable if they lead to capture. Acceptable casualties. Clark's jaw set. I need to go. Where? Away from populated areas. If they want me, they can have me. But not here. He looked at Butcher, at Huey's haunted eyes, at the wall of evidence these ordinary people had risked.
Everything to collect. You said you needed a hero. I'm not that. I'm just someone who tries to help. He headed for the exit, then paused. But what Vought is doing, that ends. One way or another. Butcher watched him go, something like respect crossing his scarred face. Huey, he said. Follow him. Stay back. Stay hidden. I want to see what happens when they finally corner him. You think they can take him? Butcher's grin was sharp. No, that's what I'm counting on. Clark emerged from the subway 2 miles away, choosing an industrial district near the waterfront. Warehouses, empty lots, concrete. No civilians in the immediate area. He could hear the extraction teams converging, their radios crackling with coordinates. He waited in the center of an abandoned parking lot, hands loose at his sides. They arrived in 3 black vans, tires screeching as they formed a perimeter. Doors opened in unison, and 20 men poured out, tactical gear, assault rifles, the kind of equipment that suggested they weren't planning to ask nicely. The team leader, a square-jawed man with lieutenant's bars, raised a megaphone. Unidentified soup. You are in violation of the Enhanced Persons Registration Act. Remain stationary and comply with extraction procedures. Clark didn't move. I don't want trouble. I just want to help people. Your cooperation is mandatory. The lieutenant lowered the megaphone, gestured. 10 rifles aimed at Clark's chest. Non-compliance will result in the use of authorized force. Those won't work, Clark said quietly. The lieutenant's expression hardened. Fire! The rifles opened up. Muzzle flashes lit the lot, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Bullets crossed the distance in milliseconds, striking Clark's center mass, his shirt shredded, the rounds flattened against his skin, dropping to the ground like spent coins. The shooting stopped. Silence, broken only by the tinkle of falling brass. Clark brushed bullet fragments from his chest. I told you. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I'm not going to let you hurt me either. Target resistant to small arms. The lieutenant spoke into his radio, voice clipped. Authorization for enhanced countermeasures. 2 soldiers hefted what looked like a rocket launcher. Compact, high-tech, definitely Vought designed. The targeting laser painted Clark's chest red. "Last chance," the lieutenant said. "Surrender or we escalate." Clark sighed. He moved. One moment he stood in the center of the lot. The next he was beside the launcher, hands gently but firmly removing it from the soldier's grip. They stumbled backward, eyes wide, not having seen him move. Clark set the weapon on the ground, stepped on it. The metal crumpled like aluminum foil. "I'm trying to be reasonable," he said. The team opened fire again. Everything they had, full automatic. Clark walked through the barrage, bullets sparking off his skin, his eyes, his face. He reached the nearest van and placed his palm flat against the hood, pushed gently. The 3-ton vehicle slid backward 20 feet, tires shrieking. "Stand down," he said, raising his voice to be heard over the gunfire. "Please, nobody needs to get hurt." A soldier charged with what looked like an electric baton, swinging for Clark's head. Clark caught the baton mid-swing, and the electrical discharge crackled over his hand without effect. He looked at the soldier. Young, maybe 25, terrified behind his tactical mask. "Go home," Clark said. He released the baton, stepped back. "All of you, tell whoever sent you that I'm not their enemy, but I'm not their property either." The gunfire finally stopped. 20 men, breathing hard, staring at the figure who'd walked through their entire arsenal without a scratch. The lieutenant's radio crackled, a new voice, smooth and corporate. "Team leader, this is Ashley Barrett, Vought executive. We're authorizing Code Red protocols. Fall back and establish perimeter. Homelander is en route." Clark heard it too, and he heard something else. The sonic boom, the displacement of air. Someone flying very fast, the Vought. Team retreated to their vans, weapons still trained on Clark, but fingers off triggers. They knew what was coming. Everyone knew. Homelander descended from the sky like a meteor, cape billowing, landing with enough force to crack the concrete. He straightened slowly, that famous smile fixed on his face, and walked toward Clark with measured steps.
"So," Homelander said, voice carrying easily across the lot. "You're the guy causing all this fuss." Clark studied him. Up close, he could see what his X-ray vision had shown from a distance. Homelander was powerful, genuinely enhanced, but there was something else. His eyes moved constantly, tracking soldiers, cameras, angles. Performing even now. "I'm just trying to help people," Clark said. "Without authorization. Without registration. Without permission." Homelander's smile didn't waver. "See, that's a problem. This city has rules. Systems. You can't just fly in and start playing hero." "I don't play." Something flickered in Homelander's eyes. "Cute. Look, I'll make this simple. You come with me, we go back to the tower, sign some paperwork, and everyone's happy. You get to be a hero. We get to manage the liability. Win-win. And if I say no?" The smile finally dropped. "Then I make you say yes." Clark met his gaze steadily. In that moment, he saw past the costume and the bravado to what Butcher's files had shown him, a weapon raised in a laboratory, taught to crave approval, to need validation. Powerful and deeply, fundamentally broken. "I don't want to fight you," Clark said. "Good." Homelander's eyes began to glow red. "Then don't." The heat vision came without warning, twin beams of concentrated energy that could cut through steel. They struck Clark's chest, pushing him back a step from the sheer force. His shirt disintegrated completely. The ground beneath his feet melted to glass. Homelander poured more power into it, eyes blazing, teeth gritted. Clark stood in the center of the beam, feeling the heat, the pressure, the intent to harm. He raised one hand, palm out, and the beam split around his fingers like water around stone. Then he began to walk forward. Homelander's eyes widened. He intensified the blast, giving it everything. The beam grew brighter, hot. The air shimmering with thermal distortion. Clark kept walking. 3 steps. 5. 10. He reached Homelander and gently placed his hand on the other man's shoulder. "Stop," Clark said quietly.
Homelander's heat vision cut off. He stared, chest heaving, at the man who'd walked through his most powerful attack. Clark's hand on his shoulder felt like a mountain, immovable, inevitable. "How?" Homelander whispered. "I'm not from here." Clark released him, stepped back. "I don't know how I got to your world, or if I can get home, but while I'm here, I'm going to help people, with or without your permission." He looked past Homelander at the Vought soldiers, at the cameras he knew were recording. "Tell your bosses that I'm not interested in their system. I'm not joining their team, but I'm also not their enemy, unless they make me one." He crouched, then launched into the sky. The sonic boom shattered every window in a 3-block radius. Homelander stood alone in the parking lot, fists clenched, watching the contrail disappear into the clouds. His hand shook as he touched his shoulder where Clark had grabbed him. That casual, gentle touch that had felt like being held by gravity itself. For the first time in his life, Homelander felt small. 3 blocks away, Huey lowered his phone, hands trembling. He'd recorded everything, every bullet bouncing off, every second of heat vision that accomplished nothing. Homelander's face when he realized he wasn't the strongest anymore. He ran back toward the hideout, the video already uploading to a secure server. Butcher was going to lose his mind. Madeline Stillwell watched the footage for the 3rd time, her expression carved from ice. Around the conference table, Vaught's executive team shifted uncomfortably. Ashley had vomited twice in the last hour. On the screen, Clark walked through Homelander's heat vision like it was a spring rain. "Options," Madeline said. "Military intervention." That was Jenkins from Defense Contracts, sweating through his $1,000 suit. "If he's this powerful, this is a national security, I see. We bring in the Pentagon, coordinate with—" "No," Madeline's voice cut like a scalpel. "The moment we admit we can't handle a single soup, our entire brand collapses. Every government contract, every licensing deal, every franchise agreement depends on the public believing we control enhanced individuals." She gestured at the screen. "Bringing in the military says we can't."
"Then what?" Ashley's voice was hoarse. "He just humiliated our premier asset on camera. There are already 15,000 posts on social media calling Homelander a fraud. Our stock dropped 8% in 2 hours. Let it drop." Madeline stood, smoothing her skirt. "This isn't a PR crisis. It's an opportunity." The room went silent. "He doesn't want money," Madeline continued, pacing. "Doesn't want fame. Turned down membership in the 7. But he does want one thing, to help people." She smiled. "So we let him." "Let him?" Jenkins stared. "He's operating without oversight, we can't stop him." Madeline's words hung in the air like a verdict. Force failed. Homelander failed. So we adapt. We make him think he's winning while we study him, catalog his abilities, find his weaknesses. She turned to Ashley. "Start a counter-narrative. The 7 and this new hero working together for the greater good. Partnership, not competition. Homelander will never agree to, Homelander will do what he's told." Madeline's voice went cold. "Or he'll be reminded that we made him, and we can unmake him just as easily." She pulled up another screen, Clark in civilian clothes at the coffee shop. "He's trying to blend in. That means he wants a normal life. Identity, job, routine. So we give it to him. Make it comfortable. Make him think he's free. And while he's playing civilian, we gather intelligence." She looked at Jenkins. "I want DNA samples. Tissue analysis. Whatever it takes. Find out what makes him invulnerable, and find out how to replicate it. And if he discovers we're studying him? Madeline's smile was surgical. Then we make sure the discovery happens in a way that makes us look sympathetic. Concerned. Just trying to help. She closed her files. Gentlemen, lady, we don't need to control him. We just need to understand him. And once we understand him, we own him. The meeting adjourned. Ashley lingered, pale. Madeline. What if we can't? What if there's no weakness? Everyone has a weakness. Madeline gathered her materials. We just haven't found his yet. 4 floors above, Homelander stood in his penthouse, staring at his reflection in the repaired mirror. His costume was pristine. Hair perfect. Face unmarked. But he could still feel that hand on his shoulder, gentle and irresistible. The penthouse door opened. Madeline entered without knocking.
"I don't want to hear it," Homelander said. "Then listen." She crossed to him, voice soft but firm. "What happened today changes nothing. You're still the face of the Seven, still America's hero, still the most powerful. I'm not." The words came out strangled. "He walked through my heat vision like it was nothing. He didn't even try, just walked." Homelander's fists clenched. "I gave him everything, and it didn't even slow him down." Madeline placed her hand on his arm. "One encounter. We don't know his limits yet. He could have vulnerabilities we haven't tested. Different weaknesses than yours. Or no weaknesses at all. Everyone has weaknesses." She turned him to face her. "Physical strength isn't everything. He's alone here. Confused. Trying to figure out this world. That makes him predictable. Manipulable." She smiled. "You're still the hero this country needs. He's just another variable to manage." Homelander wanted to believe her, needed to believe her. But the memory of feeling small, of being outpowered, ate at him like acid. "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing. For now." Madeline headed for the door. "Let him play hero. Let him save people. And when the time comes, when we understand what he is, then you'll show everyone who's really the strongest." She paused. "But until then, smile for the cameras. Be patient. Trust me." The door closed. Homelander turned back to his reflection, forced his famous smile into place. It looked hollow. Across the city, Clark stood on the roof of a cheap hotel in Brooklyn, listening to the night. He'd paid cash for a week, gave the name Joe Smith, and tried not to think about how long he'd be trapped here. The conversation in Vought Tower had been enlightening. They thought they were being careful with their encryption, their secure channels. But Clark could hear the electromagnetic signals, decode the patterns, made. Lynn Stillwell's voice, clear as if she stood beside him. "Find out what makes him invulnerable and find out how to replicate it." So they wanted to study him, use him, turn whatever made him different into another product. He thought about the files Butcher had shown him. The children injected with Compound 5, the ones who died, the ones who survived but were broken, twisted, made into weapons. And now they wanted to do it again, using him as the template. Clark's jaw set. He couldn't stop them from trying, but he could make sure they failed. Below, the city hummed with life. He could hear it all: laughter, arguments, music, sirens. Millions of people living their lives unaware of the corporations manipulating them, the fake heroes profiting from their trust. Someone screamed. 3 blocks north, genuine terror. Clark moved without thinking, jumping from the roof. The alley came into focus. 2 men with knives, a woman backed against a wall. Clark landed between them, soft as snow. "Leave," he said. They ran. The woman stared at him, trembling. "Thank you. God, thank you. Are you the one from the videos? The one who fought Homelander?" "I'm just someone who helps." Clark started to leave. "Wait." She pulled out her phone. Can I Can I take a picture? To show my daughter? She's been saying all week that real heroes exist. Clark paused. Thought about Vought's cameras, their facial recognition, their endless surveillance. Thought about this woman's daughter, learning that heroism was real. Okay, he said. One picture. She stood beside him, smiled, snapped the photo. What's your name? He thought of home, of the farm, of Ma telling him that no matter where he went, he'd always be her son. Clark, he said. Clark Kent. Thank you, Clark Kent. She walked away, clutching her phone, already calling someone. Mom? You won't believe what just happened. Clark watched her go, then looked toward Vought Tower, visible even from here. They wanted to study him, to understand him, to use him. Let them try. In the hideout, Butcher replayed Huey's footage, watching Clark's face during that final confrontation. No anger, no triumph, just quiet certainty. That, Butcher said softly, is either the best thing that's ever happened to us, or the most dangerous.
Which one do you think? Huey asked. Butcher grinned. Both, mate. Definitely both. The New York Record occupied 3 floors of a building in Hell's Kitchen that had seen better decades. The elevator rattled, the carpets were worn, and the smell of coffee and old paper permeated everything. Clark pushed through the glass doors, resume in hand. The editor-in-chief, a woman named Sarah Chen, looked at him over reading glasses that had slipped down her nose. Her desk was buried under printouts, coffee cups, and what appeared to be the remnants of 3 different meals. Kent. Clark Kent. She scanned his resume. Smallville Sentinel. Decent clips. Why leave Kansas for New York? Change of scenery, Clark said, which was technically true. Different Earth counted as scenery. I want to write about things that matter. Real journalism. Sarah snorted. Real journalism doesn't pay much. Especially not here. We're not the Times. We're barely hanging on. She set down the resume. But we do actual investigative work. We don't take Vought money, which means we're the only publication in this city that'll print negative stories about soups. She studied him. That a problem for you? No, ma'am. I think people deserve the truth. Something in her expression softened. When can you start? Today. She handed him a press badge and a battered laptop. Great. Your first assignment, the mystery soup who fought Homelander. Everyone wants that story. Get me an angle nobody else has. Clark accepted the badge, keeping his face neutral. I'll do my best. His desk was in the corner, wedged between sports and classifieds. The reporter next to him, a kid named Danny who couldn't be more than 23, looked up from his phone. You're the new guy. Heard Chen's got you on the Superman story. Superman? That's what people are calling him online. The guy in the red and blue who's avid everyone from the satellite debris. Heat vision didn't touch him, walks through bullets, the whole deal. Danny pulled up his phone. There's like 50 conspiracy theories. Vought experiment gone rogue. Russian super soldier. Alien. Time traveler. My favorite is that he's Homelander's secret brother.
Clark adjusted his glasses, a habit from home that helped him think. What do you think? I think he's the first person who ever made Homelander look scared, Danny grinned, which makes him the most interesting story in the city. Clark spent the morning reading everything the Record had on Vought. Sarah hadn't been kidding. They were the only outlet consistently critical of the Seven. Articles about suspicious rescue timings, questions about Compound V's long-term effects, investigations into soup-related deaths that Vought had settled quietly. His enhanced vision caught something interesting in the older archives. A reporter named Greg Mallory had written extensively about Vought in the 80s and 90s before abruptly disappearing from the byline. The articles asked uncomfortable questions about enhanced soldiers, government contracts, and children who'd gone missing near Vought facilities. Clark made a note to follow up on that. His phone buzzed, a number he didn't recognize. The text was brief. Rooftop, 1 hour, come alone. BB, Billy Butcher. Clark typed back, "How did you get this number?" The response came immediately. "I'm very good at my job. See you in 60. The rooftop meeting spot was an abandoned building scheduled for demolition. Butcher waited with MM and Huey, the afternoon sun painting everything gold. They'd chosen well. No surveillance, clear sight lines, easy escape routes. "Fancy seeing you here, Clark Kent," Butcher said, grinning. "Got yourself a job, going legitimate. You're following me. Call it protective observation." Butcher gestured at the city spread below. "You've been busy. 7 rescues in 3 days. Building fire, car accident, stopped a mugging, saved a kid from drowning, prevented 2 overdoses, and pulled a cat from a tree." The cat was scared. "The point is, you're doing exactly what we thought you'd do." Butcher pulled out a tablet. "Which is why Vaught's doing this." The screen showed surveillance footage, cameras tracking Clark's movements, satellite realignments following his path, facial recognition flagging him at multiple locations. His hotel, the newspaper office, coffee shops, everywhere.
"They're building a pattern analysis," MM said. "Trying to predict where you'll be, who you'll talk to, what you care about. Let them watch." Clark crossed his arms. "I'm not doing anything wrong. That's not how Vought operates, mate." Butcher swiped to another file. "See, they can't beat you in a straight fight. Can't threaten you with violence. Can't bribe you with money or fame. So they'll go after what you do care about." He pulled up photos: Sarah Chen, Danny from the office, the woman from the alley. Anyone you save, anyone you talk to, anyone who matters to you becomes leverage. Clark's expression hardened. "They'd threaten innocent people to control me. In a heartbeat." Huey spoke up, his voice quiet but firm. "That's what they do. That's all they do. Create pressure points and exploit them." "Then what do you suggest?" Butcher smiled. "Partnership. We've been fighting Vought for years with limited resources and no powers. You've got power but no intel on how they operate. Together, we might actually accomplish something. I don't work with people who kill." "Noted." Butcher didn't even blink. "We focus on exposure. Evidence. Bringing them down through their own corruption. We've got years of documentation, contacts in law enforcement, journalists who'd publish if they had ironclad proof." He leaned forward. "You keep being the hero. Keep saving people. Keep making Homelander look like the corporate puppet he is. And we'll make sure the world sees what Vought really is." Clark studied them. Butcher with his scarred face and vendetta. MM with his military bearing and careful eyes. Huey with his grief and surprising determination. They weren't perfect. They'd done questionable things. But they were fighting for something real. "What do you need from me?" "Right now. Just keep doing what you're doing." Butcher handed him a secure phone. "But when we see when we need someone who can't be stopped or bought or scared, you answer." Clark took the phone. "I can't promise I'll agree with your methods. Don't have to. Just promise you'll listen." Butcher extended his hand. "What do you say, Kansas? Want to help us take down the biggest corporate evil in history?" Clark shook his hand. Butcher tried not to wince at the grip's strength.
"I'll help. But we do this right. No unnecessary violence, no civilian casualties. And if I think you're crossing a line, I walk. Fair enough?" Butcher released his hand, flexing his fingers. "Welcome to the team, such as it is." They briefed him on Vaught's structure, the Seven's individual weaknesses, the locations of facilities where they suspected illegal experiments. Pulled up blueprints of Vought Tower, showing the secure levels deep underground. Huey explained the PR machine, how Vought controlled narratives through media manipulation and legal threats. Clark absorbed it all, his mind cataloging information. This was bigger than he'd thought. Not just corrupt heroes, but a corporate empire built on exploitation and violence. "There's something else," Huey said hesitantly. "We've been hearing rumors. Vaught's accelerating their Compound V program, trying to create more powerful soups to compete with you. If they succeed, they'll have their own arms race," Clark finished. "More experiments, more children at risk." "Exactly." MM's voice was grim. "Which means we're on a clock. Either we expose them before they stabilize the new formula, or this gets a lot worse." Clark's phone, his work phone, buzzed. Sarah Chen. "Kent. Breaking story. Explosion at Vought Research Facility in Queens. Get there now." He showed them the message. Butcher's expression darkened. "That's one of their Compound V labs. Off books, not officially acknowledged." He pulled up a map. "If there's been an explosion, there could be casualties," Clark said. "I need to go." "Wait." Huey grabbed his arm, realized the futility of the gesture, and let go. "If you show up at a Vought facility, they'll know you know about their secret operations. It tips our hand. People might be hurt, and saving them might compromise everything we're working toward." Clark looked at Huey, at the moor, while calculus being performed. Save lives now, or protect the investigation that could save thousands later. He jumped off the roof, gone in a blur. Butcher watched him disappear, then turned to Huey. "What did I tell you? Hero through and through. Is that a problem?" "Depends." Butcher pulled out his own phone, dialing. "If he saves everyone at that facility, Vought knows he's a threat to their infrastructure. They'll escalate." He smiled grimly. "Better get ready. Things are about to get interesting." Clark reached the facility in 8 seconds. The building was unremarkable. A warehouse in an industrial park, the kind of place that blended into Queens' commercial sprawl. Except now half of it was on fire, black smoke pouring into the afternoon sky. He landed behind a line of fire trucks, already hearing the chaos inside. 18 heartbeats, some rapid with panic, others weakening. The firefighters were holding back. Someone in a Vought uniform was arguing with the fire chief, pointing at the building and shaking his head. "Can't go in there, it's not safe. Hazardous materials. There are people inside." The fire chief's face was red. "I've got thermal signatures. Vought will handle extraction. Stand down. That's an order from Homeland Security." Clark didn't wait for the argument to resolve. He walked past the fire line, ignoring the shouts, and entered the building through the main entrance. The door disintegrated at his touch, metal peeling away like tissue paper. Inside was smoke and heat and the acrid smell of burning chemicals. But under that, something worse. Medical waste, fear sweat, blood. He moved through the facility, vision shifting to see through the smoke. The first floor was offices, filing cabinets melting in the heat. The second floor was laboratories, examination tables, monitoring equipment, refrigeration units containing vials of glowing blue liquid, Compound V. The basement was where the heartbeats were coming from. Clark descended through a stairwell that should have been impassable, flames crawling up the walls. His body absorbed the heat without effect. The basement door was reinforced. Said steel, locked from the outside. He tore it off its hinges. The room beyond made him stop. Cells, 12 of them, barred and numbered. Inside, people. No, children. Teenagers at the oldest. They huddled in corners, eyes wide with terror, some crying, some too shocked to make sound. Their arms bore injection marks, fresh and old. Medical monitoring equipment was strapped to several of them, wires running to computers now sparking and dying in the smoke. "Please," a girl, maybe 14, pressed against the bars of her cell. "Please get us out. They said they'd come back for us, but the fire."
Clark ripped the first cell door open. Then the second. The third. He moved quickly, systematically, tearing through steel like it was cardboard. The children stumbled out, coughing, terrified. This way. He led them toward the stairs, shielding them from falling debris with his body. A support beam crashed down, and he caught it one-handed, holding it up while they passed beneath. Don't look back. Just keep moving. They emerged into daylight, 18 children ranging from 12 to 17, all wearing identical gray jumpsuits with numbers stenciled on the backs. The firefighters rushed forward, wrapping them in blankets, checking vitals. The VOT representative went pale. Those subjects, they're not authorized for public, they're children. Clark's voice was quiet, but something in it made the man step back. Not subjects. Children. The fire chief approached Clark, awe and confusion mixing on his face. How did you shouldn't have been able to survive that. The heat index in there was over 2,000 degrees. They needed help. Clark turned back to the building. His enhanced hearing caught something, a single heartbeat, deep in the basement, separate from where the cells had been. There's someone else. He was back inside before anyone could respond. Down through the basement, past the empty cells, to a reinforced door he'd missed in his rush to save the children. This one was triple locked, marked with biohazard symbols. Behind it, that single heartbeat, weak and erratic, Clark didn't bother with the locks. The door came off its frame, the room was a surgical theater. Monitors lined the walls, displaying vital signs and chemical compositions. In the center, strapped to a medical table, was a boy. 12, maybe 13. His skin was mottled with chemical burns, veins glowing faintly blue beneath the surface. And 4 drip fed something into his arm, M. Or compound V, Clark realized, a concentration far higher than should be possible. The boy's eyes opened. They were glowing the same blue as his veins. Am I dying? His voice was a whisper. No. Clark moved to the table, gently detaching the restraints. I'm getting you out of here. They said I was special. Said the formula worked differently in me. Said I could be. The boy coughed, and blue liquid came up. Said I could be like Homelander. Clark lifted him carefully, cradling him like he weighed nothing. You're going to be okay.
It hurts. I know. I'm sorry. Clark moved toward the stairs, but the boy's hand gripped his shirt with surprising strength. The others, the ones who didn't make it, they're still here. He pointed weakly to another door, this one marked storage. In the cold room. They deserve. Someone should know. Clark's jaw clenched. He carried the boy up first, passing him to paramedics who immediately began treatment. Then he returned, steeling himself for what he knew he'd find. The cold room was exactly what he'd feared. 16 bodies, children and teenagers, preserved in refrigeration units. Each one labeled with a number, a date, and a single word. Failure. He stood there for a long moment, memorizing their faces. 16 children who'd been experimented on, who'd died because Vought wanted to create more powerful products. 16 futures ended before they began. Clark's hands clenched into fists. The room's temperature began to rise, frost melting from the walls as his anger literally heated the air around him. Outside, news helicopters were arriving. Vought's crisis team was setting up a perimeter, already working on their narrative. Clark could hear Ashley Barrett on the phone. Unauthorized research facility, rogue scientists. Vought had no knowledge of operations, deeply concerned, full investigation. Lies. All lies. He emerged from the building carrying one of the bodies, a girl, maybe 15, who'd been marked failure in cold bureaucratic type. The cameras caught it all, his face, streaked with soot and set with fury. The small, still form in his arms. The 18 rescued children behind him, living proof of Vought's experiments. The Vought representative stepped forward, forced smile in place. Sir, those are company property, you can't just... Clark's eyes burned red for just a moment, not heat vision, just the glow of power barely contained. She was a child. They were all children. He spoke clearly, knowing the cameras would catch every word. And Vought did this to them. The representative's smile died. You don't understand the complexities. I understand perfectly. Clark gently laid the girl's body on a gurney, then faced the cameras directly. Vought International has been experimenting on children, injecting them with their formula. These 18 survived. 16 others didn't. He paused, letting that sink in. The public deserves to know what their heroes really are, what this company really does.
In Vought Tower, Madeline Stillwell watched the live feed, her knuckles white around her phone. Shut it down. Kill the broadcast. Get every legal team we have on those news stations, but it was too late. The footage was already viral. Clark's soot-streaked face, the rescued children, the body in his arms, it was on every screen, every phone, every platform. Homelander appeared beside Madeline, watching the screen. For once, his expression showed genuine emotion. Did you know about this facility? It was off books. Experimental protocols. Deniable. They were kids. They were assets. Madeline turned to him. And now they're liabilities. We need to control this narrative before it destroys everything. On screen, Clark lifted into the air, the cameras tracking him. I'm going to find every facility like this. Every experiment. Every victim. And I'm going to make sure the world knows the truth. He disappeared into the sky. Madeline's phone exploded with calls, board members, lawyers, politicians. The stock was in free fall. Emergency meetings were being called. Decades of carefully constructed public relations were burning as fast as that warehouse, and somewhere in Queens, Billy Butcher watched the same footage with a smile that was equal parts satisfaction and concern. Well, he said to no one in particular. That's the line crossed. No going back now. The media storm hit before Clark landed. By the time he touched down on his hotel roof, every news outlet was running the footage on loop. His face. The children. The bodies. Vaught's facility burning in the background. His secure phone buzzed. Butcher, you magnificent bastard. Check the news. Clark pulled out his civilian phone, scrolling through headlines. Mystery hero exposes Vought experiments, 18 children rescued from secret facility. Vought denies knowledge of illegal testing. Who is the man in red and blue?
The comment sections were war zones. Half the posts praised him. Finally, someone standing up to Vought. Real hero. Save our children. The other half called him a terrorist. Destroying private property. Unlicensed vigilante. Dangerous radical. Vaught's PR machine was already spinning. Ashley Barrett on CNN. Makeup perfect. Voice earnest. Vought International is horrified to learn about this unauthorized facility. We believe rogue scientists, operating completely outside company oversight, may have... Clark turned it off. He'd heard enough lies for one day. His work phone rang. Sarah Chen, her voice tight with excitement and fear. Kent, where the hell are you? I've got the biggest story of the decade and my reporter is MIA. I'm following up on sources. The explosion. Forget the explosion. I just got served with a cease and desist from Vaught's legal team. They're threatening to sue us into oblivion if we run anything about that facility without their official statement. She paused. Which means there's a real story there. Get me something I can print. Something they can't shut down. I'll have it by tonight. He hung up, already planning. The rescued children were in protective custody, but they'd talk eventually. The bodies were evidence that couldn't be hidden, and somewhere in Vaught's systems were the records, orders, invoices, approvals, a paper trail that proved this wasn't rogue scientists, but deliberate policy. He just needed to find it. His hearing caught a familiar sonic boom. Homelander, incoming fast. Clark stepped to the edge of the roof, waiting. Homelander landed 20 feet away, cape settling around his shoulders. For once, the smile was absent. He looked tired, almost human. You shouldn't have done that, Homelander said. Those were children. I know. Homelander's voice was quiet. I was one of them. A long time ago. He moved close. Not threatening, just talking. They raised me in a lab. White walls, cameras everywhere, people in coats writing notes while I cried. They injected me with Compound V when I was hours old. Watched to see if I'd survive. His jaw tightened. I did. Not all of them did. Clark studied him, seeing the broken child beneath the corporate hero. Then why do you work for them? Because what else do I know? Homelander laughed, bitter. This is all I am, what they made me. Perfect weapon, perfect product, perfect slave. He met Clark's eyes. You exposed one facility. There are others. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. You think this changes anything? It's a start. It's a death sentence. Homelander stepped closer. Madeline sent me here to bring you in. Peacefully, if possible. She thinks we can still negotiate, still manage you. He paused. But I'm not here to bring you in. I'm here to tell you to run. Clark frowned. Why? Because you did something I never could. You showed the world what they really are, and they're going to destroy you for it. Homelander's eyes glowed faintly, not with heat vision, but with something else. Fear. They have resources you can't imagine. Legal teams, politicians, military contracts. They'll turn the public against you, make you the villain, and if that doesn't work, they'll find what you care about and burn it down. I can handle whatever they throw at me. Can you? Homelander gestured at the city below. What about the people at your newspaper, your neighbors, random strangers who defend you online? Vought doesn't fight fair. They'll go after everyone around you until you break or run or give them what they want. Clark was silent for a moment. Then, what do you want, Homelander? I want... Homelander stopped as if surprised by his own answer. I want to know if it's possible to be something other than what they made me. To be... He couldn't finish the sentence. A hero, Clark said quietly. A real one. Homelander laughed, sharp and broken. I don't think I know how. Then learn. Clark stepped forward. You're right. I exposed one facility. But I can't be everywhere. Can't save everyone. Can't tear down an empire alone. He met Homelander's eyes. But you're on the inside. You know their secrets. Yo, who could help? Betray Vought? Homelander's voice rose. They'd kill me. Or worse. They'd show the world what I really am. Every lie I've told, every person I've let die for ratings, every... He stopped, chest heaving. You don't know what I've done. I know what they made you do. Clark kept his voice level. That doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. Homelander stared at him for a long moment. Then his expression hardened, the mask sliding back into place. You're naive, dangerous, and you're going to get a lot of people killed. He
lifted into the air. When it happens, when Vought brings the hammer down, don't say I didn't warn you. He was gone in a sonic boom. Clark stood alone on the roof, processing the conversation. Homelander was more damaged than he'd realized. A victim and a perpetrator both, trapped in a cycle he couldn't break, but that didn't change what needed to be done. His work phone buzzed again. Not Sarah this time. An unknown number. The text was brief. You wanted the truth. Come to these coordinates. Bring your phone to record. Come alone. You have 2 hours. QM. Queen Maeve. Clark checked the coordinates. An abandoned subway station in the Bronx. Classic trap location. Could be Vought trying to isolate him. Could be genuine. Only one way to find out that he launched into the air, already planning. If this was a trap, he'd spring it and deal with the consequences. If it was legitimate, he might just get the proof he needed. Either way, Vought was about to learn that exposing their experiments was just the beginning. Below, in the boys' hideout, Butcher watched tracking software follow Clark's movement pattern. He's heading to the Bronx. Queen Maeve's location. Is she helping him or setting him up? Huey asked. Bit of both, probably. Butcher grabbed his coat. Frenchie, you're with me. Huey, monitor comms. If this goes sideways, we need to know. What are you going to do? Butcher's smile was sharp. Make sure our best weapon doesn't get taken off the board before the real fight starts. The abandoned subway station smelled of rust and stagnant water. Clark descended through the broken entrance, his vision piercing the darkness. Queen Maeve stood under a flickering emergency light, still in costume but without the usual camera-ready poise. She looked tired. You came alone, she said. You asked me to. Clark moved closer, hands visible and non-threatening. Why am I here?
Maeve pulled out a USB drive. Because you're the first person in 20 years who made me remember what heroism actually means. She held it up, her hand shaking slightly. This is everything. Every facility, every experiment, every child who died. Financial records, internal memos, video evidence, all of it. Clark's eyes narrowed. Why give this to me? Because I can't live with it anymore. Her voice cracked. I've spent 2 decades smiling for cameras while Vought murdered children. I told myself I couldn't stop it, that speaking up would just get me killed and change nothing. But you, she gestured at him. You showed up and started changing everything anyway. No calculation, no fear. Just doing what's right. This will destroy your career. My career is a lie, Maeve laughed bitterly. I'm not a hero, I'm a mascot. A product. I rescue staged accidents and pose for pictures while Homelander laser visions whoever Vought wants dead. She thrust the drive toward him. But maybe I can be part of something real. One time. Before it's too late. Clark took the drive. They'll know you leaked this. I don't care. But her voice said otherwise. She cared very much, was terrified, was doing it anyway. Just promise me you'll use it. Actually expose them. Not just one facility. Everything. I promise. She turned to leave, then stopped. The plane. What plane? Flight 37, 2 years ago. Hijacked over the Atlantic. Maeve's voice went flat, reciting facts to avoid feeling them. Homelander and I were sent to rescue it, but his heat vision damaged the controls when he killed the terrorists. The plane was going down. I wanted to try to save people, to make multiple trips, something. He said it wasn't worth the effort. She met Clark's eyes. We flew away, left 115 people to die. Then we told the world the plane was destroyed before we arrived. Clark felt how his hands clench. You just left them? I wanted to help, I begged him, but he said... Her voice broke. He said there were no cameras on the plane. No one would see us save them, so why bother? She wiped her eyes angrily. That's who we are. That's what the Seven really is. And I've been too afraid to tell anyone. Until now.
Until now. She straightened, some of her old composure returning. There's footage on that drive. Internal Vought recordings of us reporting back. Discussing how to spin the story. Laughing about, she couldn't finish. Clark's jaw was tight. Thank you for this. I know what it cost you. Don't thank me. I should have done it years ago. Maeve headed for the exit. When this breaks, Vought will come after you with everything. Legal, illegal, whatever works. Watch your back. She jumped through the broken ceiling, her departure leaving Clark alone with the evidence that he pulled out his phone, already knowing what he'd find on the drive. But he needed to see it. Needed to witness it himself before he brought it to the world. 3 blocks away, Butcher watched through binoculars from a rooftop. Maeve just left. gave him something, looked like a drive. Mem lowered his own binoculars. She's actually helping him. I didn't think she had it in her. Everyone's got a breaking point, Butcher said. Clark's just good at finding them. Inside the station, Clark inserted the drive into his phone. The files loaded, hundreds of documents, videos, financial records. He started with the videos, watching in silence as the evidence of Vought's crimes unfolded. At a boardroom meeting, Madeline Stillwell discussing acceptable mortality rates for compound V trials, laboratory footage, children screaming during injections, scientists noting adverse reactions. Security camera footage from the plane, Homelander and Maeve in the cockpit, his face bored, her face anguished. Audio, let them die. There's no percentage in saving them. Financial records showing millions funneled into black site research facilities, internal emails, subject 47 expired. Prep subject 48. More emails, media team successfully buried the Trenton facility story. Local authorities cooperating after donation to mayor's campaign. An invoice, 15 gallons compound V delivered to DHS. Special military trials authorized. Clark watched it all, his expression carved from stone. This wasn't one facility. This was systematic. Industrial. Vought had built an empire on suffering, and everyone at the top knew. His phone rang. Sarah Chen. Kent. Where's my story?
You're about to get it. Clark's voice was quiet but certain. Check your encrypted email in 5 minutes. Everything you need for the biggest expose in history. Clark, what are you? Print it. All of it. Don't wait for verification. Don't give them time to get injunctions. Just print it. He paused. And Sarah, after this runs, you're going to be under attack. Legal, professional, maybe physical. Make sure your team is ready. You're scaring me. Good. Fear means you understand what we're up against. He ended the call and began uploading files to multiple news outlets. The Record, independent journalists, international papers, everyone who might print the truth. While the files uploaded, he called Butcher on the secure phone. I'm releasing everything. Maeve's evidence, every facility, every crime. It goes live in 10 minutes. About fucking time. Butcher's voice carried satisfaction and concern. You know what happens next, right? Vaught's not gonna take this lying down. Let them come. That's what I'm afraid of. Butcher paused. They can't beat you in a fight, so they'll change the battlefield. Go after your credibility, your allies. Turn the public against you. The truth speaks for itself. In a perfect world, mate. But this world... Butcher laughed grimly. Truth is whatever people want to believe, and Vaught's very good at making people believe. The upload completed. Clark looked at his phone. Files sent to 17 different outlets, backed up on secure servers, impossible to suppress completely. It's done, he said. Then buckle up. Butcher ended the call. Clark stood in the darkness of the abandoned station, holding evidence that would shake the world. In minutes, everything would change. Vought would retaliate. The public would divide. Forces would align against him. But somewhere, in hospitals and homes and foster care facilities, 81 and children were alive because he'd acted. 16 others would be remembered, their deaths not forgotten but acknowledged. And somewhere, a woman named Queen Maeve had chosen conscience over comfort. It was a start. Clark launched through the broken ceiling into the night sky. Below, the city lights spread like stars. Millions of people, most of them good, most of them just trying to survive in a world controlled by corporations that saw them as revenue streams. His phone began buzzing, notifications as the stories went live. The war had begun. The stories broke at midnight. By 1 a.m., Vaught's legal team had filed injunctions against 12 news outlets. By 2 a.m., 3 editors had been arrested on charges of publishing classified information. By 3 a.m., the Department of Homeland Security had issued a statement calling the leaked documents potentially fabricated materials that threaten national security. Clark watched it unfold from his hotel room, laptop open, tracking every response. The truth was out there. Irrefutable video evidence, financial records, testimony from rescued children. But Vought was burying it under an avalanche of counter-narrative. His phone rang. Sarah Chen, her voice sharp with adrenaline and fear. They arrested Danny, my junior reporter, broke into his apartment at 2 a.m. Federal agents hauled him away in handcuffs. She was breathing hard. They're saying he hacked government databases to obtain the files. Clark, he didn't hack anything. You gave me those files. I know. They're trying to silence you. It's working. My publisher just called. We're pulling the story pending legal review. Her voice cracked. They're going to bury this. All of it. Not if other outlets. The other outlets are getting the same treatment. Legal threats, editor arrests, sources being intimidated. The international papers might run it, but here? In the U.S.? Vought owns too many politicians. She paused. I'm sorry, Clark. We tried. She hung up. Clark stood, pacing the small room. This was different from fighting physical threats. He could stop bullets, servias, have explosions, tear through steel, but he couldn't punch through corporate lawyers or fly faster than bureaucracy. The television was running CNN, a panel discussion about the leaked documents. Clearly doctored footage. Vought's forensics team has identified multiple signs of digital manipulation.
The so-called rescued children have all been identified as actors hired by radical anti-soup activists. This mystery vigilante, operating without oversight or accountability, is the real threat here. Clark muted it. None of the panelists had actually examined the evidence. They were just repeating Vought's talking points, delivered through official channels that looked credible. His secure phone buzzed. Butcher, turn on channel 7. Now. He switched channels. Ashley Barrett, Vought's PR director, sat across from a sympathetic interviewer. Her eyes were red, as if she'd been crying. These accusations are devastating, she said, voice trembling. Vought has spent 70 years saving lives, protecting this country, giving hope to millions. And now some vigilante, someone we know nothing about, who refuses to register or follow any laws, is trying to destroy us with fabricated evidence. She wiped her eyes. Those children he supposedly rescued. They were part of a legitimate medical study, fully approved by the FDA. Their parents gave consent. Everything was legal and ethical. But the footage shows, edited footage can show anything. Ashley's voice hardened. Our experts have proven the videos were manipulated. Spliced together from different sources. The financial records were hacked and altered. This is a coordinated attack on Vought, on the 7, on everything that keeps America safe. The interviewer nodded sympathetically. And what about the man himself? This so-called Superman. We don't know who he is. Where he came from. What his agenda is. Ashley leaned forward. He appears out of nowhere with incredible powers, refuses all oversight, attacks our facilities, and now spreads lies to turn the public against the heroes who actually protect them. She paused for effect. We have to ask, who is he really working for? What does he want? And how many PLE will die before someone stops him? Clark turned off the television. His laptop showed the social media response, and it was working. The hashtag #ArrestSuperman was trending. Thousands of posts calling him a terrorist, a foreign agent, a threat to national security. Video clips of him tearing open the facility, edited to remove context, making it look like mindless destruction. A knock at his door. Clark's hearing identified the visitor before he opened it, Huey, alone, nervous.
How did you find me? Tracked your phone. Huey stepped inside, closed the door. Look, Butcher sent me to tell you, we need to pull back, regroup, figure out a new strategy. There's no pulling back. The evidence is real. I know it's real, you know it's real. But Vought just convinced half the country it's fake. Huey pulled out his phone, showed Clark the polling data. 72% of Americans now have an unfavorable view of you. 68% support a federal warrant for your arrest. They did this in 6 hours, Clark. 6 hours. Clark looked at the numbers, his jaw tight. What would you have me do? Stop helping people? Hide? No, just be smarter about it. Huey sat on the edge of the bed. Vaught's fighting this like a PR war because that's the battlefield where they're stronger than you. They can't beat you physically, so they're beating you legally, socially, politically. They're turning your strength into a weakness, making people afraid of how powerful you are. So they win, because they control the narrative. Not if we change the narrative. Huey looked up at him. The rescued children, they're real. Their families are real. If we can get them on camera, telling their stories, showing their injection scars, medical records. Vaught's already threatened them. I heard the calls. Legal pressure, financial incentives to stay quiet, implied threats if they don't. Clark's fists clenched. The parents are terrified. Then we protect them. Get them somewhere safe, somewhere Vought can't reach. Let them tell the truth without fear. Clark considered it. Huey was right. Fighting Vaught's media machine head-on wasn't working. But protecting witnesses, giving them a platform, letting the victims speak for themselves, that might work. Where would we take them? Butcher's got contacts, safe houses, people who owe him favors. Huey, he stood. It's not perfect, but it's better than watching Vought bury the truth. Before Clark could respond, his hearing caught something, multiple vehicles, moving fast, converging on the hotel. Military-grade engines, radio chatter. Target location confirmed. All units move in. He moved to the window. 6 armored trucks surrounding the building. Men in tactical gear pouring out, weapons raised.
They found me, Clark said quietly. Huey went pale. How? Probably tracked your phone when you found mine. Clark didn't sound angry, just resigned. Get to the roof. I'll handle this. Clark, if you fight them, you prove Vaught's point. Dangerous vigilante attacking federal agents. I'm not going to fight them. Clark headed for the door. I'm going to turn myself in. What? No. They'll arrest me. Put me in a cell. Give me a trial. Clark paused at the door. And then the whole world will be watching. Under oath. With evidence that can't be suppressed by legal threats. He smiled slightly. Sometimes the best fight is the one you don't throw a punch in. He opened the door and walked into the hallway, hands raised. As armed men stormed up the stairs, Clark descended the stairs with his hands visible, moving slowly. The tactical team froze when they saw him, 20 guns trained on a man who'd walked through Homelander's heat vision without flinching. I'm not resisting, Clark said clearly. He could hear phones recording from neighboring rooms, cameras from news helicopters circling outside. I'm surrendering to federal custody. The team leader, a hard-faced woman with captain's bars, lowered her weapon slightly. Clark Kent. You're under arrest for violation of the Enhanced Persons Registration Act, destruction of federal property, and conspiracy to distribute classified information. You have the right to. I understand my rights. Clark knelt slowly, placing his hands behind his head. I'm cooperating fully. They approached cautiously, as if he might explode. Someone produced restraints, high-tech cuffs that hummed with what looked like power dampeners. Clark let them attach the cuffs, even though they both knew the devices were useless. He could break them without effort. But that wasn't the point was the footage. Clark being arrested. Peacefully. Cooperating. Following the law even when the law was being weaponized against him. They led him outside to a wall of cameras. News crews, protesters, curious onlookers, hundreds of people with phones recording everything. Someone shouted, "Terrorist," from the crowd. Someone else shouted, "Hero." The rest just watched, uncertain.
Clark walked to the armored transport, head high, expression calm. One of the news crews shoved a microphone forward. "Mr. Kent, do you have a statement?" He paused, looked directly at the camera. The tactical team tensed but didn't stop him. "I exposed crimes committed against children," Clark said, his voice carrying across the crowd. "Vought International has been experimenting on minors without consent. 18 children were rescued, 16 others died in their custody. Everything I revealed is true, and it can be proven in a court of law." He paused. "I look forward to that day." They pushed him into the transport. The doors closed, cutting off the crowd's noise. Inside, the captain sat across from him, studying his face. "You really think you'll get a fair trial?" "I think the truth matters, even when it's inconvenient." "Truth?" She laughed without humor. "You really are new here, aren't you?" The transport drove through the city, heading toward what Clark's hearing identified as a federal detention facility in Lower Manhattan. But halfway there, the route changed. New orders crackled over the radio. "Divert to secure location. Classified coordinates. Presidential authorization." The captain's expression shifted. Surprise, then concern. "We're not going to the federal building." "Where then?" She didn't answer, but Clark's hearing caught the GPS coordinates. Not a courthouse, not a police station, a private facility in New Jersey owned by... He focused his vision, reading signs through the transport walls. Vought International. They were taking him to a Vought facility. Clark's jaw tightened. Huey had been right. Vought wasn't going to let this go to trial. They'd use national security as an excuse to hold him indefinitely, study him, figure out how to neutralize him. The transport stopped. When the doors opened, Clark saw a nondescript warehouse surrounded by high walls. No cameras, no press, just armed guards and a familiar face, Madeline Stillwell, smiling that corporate smile. "Mr. Kent? Welcome." She gestured toward the building. "We have much to discuss." "This isn't a courthouse." "No. This is a secure facility for enhanced individuals who pose a national security risk." Her smile never wavered. "You'll be held here pending evaluation. Indefinitely if necessary." "That's illegal." "That's classified." She stepped closer, voice dropping. "You should have taken the deal. Joined the 7. Been manageable. Now you're a problem, and problems get solved." Clark looked at the facility, at the guards, at Stillwell's confident expression. She thought she'd won. Thought she'd contained the threat. She had no idea what was about to happen. "I want a lawyer," Clark said clearly. "Not possible. National security protocols. Then I want the press to know where I am. The press will be told you're in federal custody, which is technically true." Stillwell's smile widened. "No one knows this location. No one will find you. And eventually the public will forget. They always do." They led him inside, through corridors lined with reinforced walls and suppression technology. The facility was designed to hold powerful soups, dampening fields, kinetic barriers, isolation protocols. It might even work on someone enhanced by Compound V, but Clark wasn't enhanced by Compound V. They placed him in a cell, white walls, single bed, no windows, the door sealed with a hiss of hydraulics. Madeline watched through reinforced glass, speaking into an intercom. "You'll be comfortable here. We'll provide meals, entertainment, whatever you need. But you won't be leaving, not until you agree to our terms." "What terms?" "Join Vought, publicly recant your accusations, admit the evidence was fabricated, and help us develop our next generation of Compound 5 using your unique biology." She paused. "Or spend the rest of your life in this cell. Your choice." Clark sat on the bed, looking at her through the glass. "You're making a mistake." "I don't think so." Madeline turned to leave. "Take some time. Think about it. We'll talk again when you're ready to be reasonable." She walked away, heels clicking on concrete. The lights dimmed, leaving Clark in semi-darkness.
He closed his eyes, extending his hearing. The facility was underground, shielded, isolated. But 60 miles away, he could hear Butcher's voice on a phone. They diverted the transport. He's not in federal custody, he's in a black site. And responding, then we get him out. And Huey, how? We don't even know where he is. And Butcher, he knows where he is. And he's the most powerful thing on the planet. If he wants out, he gets out. Clark smiled slightly. They didn't understand yet. He wasn't here because he couldn't escape. He was here because this was exactly where he needed to be, inside Vought's secret facility. With access to their systems. Their files. Their hidden infrastructure. They trapped themselves in a room with him. He stood, walked to the wall, and placed his palm flat against it. His X-ray vision pierced through layers of steel and concrete, mapping the entire facility. 37 guards. 14 prisoners in other cells. Laboratories on sublevel 3. Server rooms on sublevel 4. And in the deepest level, more children. More experiments. More evidence. Clark's expression hardened. Madeline Stillwell thought she'd caged a threat, that she'd given him the keys to her kingdom. Clark waited until 3 a.m. The facility's night shift had settled into routine, guards half asleep at their posts, researchers gone home. Only skeleton crew remained. He stood, walked to the door, and pushed. The reinforced steel groaned, buckled, then tore from its frame like paper. Alarms shrieked immediately, red light strobing through the corridors. Clark stepped into the hallway, moving with purpose. The first response team rounded the corner, 6 guards with advanced weaponry. They opened fire. Clark walked through the bullets, reached them in 3 strides, and gently but firmly removed their weapons. He set the guns aside, placed each guard carefully against the wall. "Stay here," he said quietly. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." They stayed.
He moved deeper into the facility, following the map he'd memorized. Every cell he passed, he opened. The prisoners inside, enhanced individuals being held without trial, stared at him with mixtures of hope and disbelief. "Follow me," Clark said. "We're leaving." A woman with crystalline skin hesitated. "They'll kill us if we run." "They'll have to go through me first." She followed. They all did. Clark reached sublevel 3, the laboratories. Through the reinforced windows, he saw what he'd expected. More children strapped to examination tables, IV lines running compound phi into their veins. Scientists in white coats monitoring vital signs, taking notes. He tore the door off entirely this time. The scientists froze. One reached for an alarm. Clark was beside him before he could press it, hand gently on his wrist. "Don't," Clark said. He looked at the children. "Disconnect them, carefully, now." "We can't just... These are controlled trials. The subjects need... Their children." Clark's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Not subjects. Children. Disconnect them or I will." The scientists moved. One by one, they removed the IVs, detached the monitoring equipment. The children, 7 of them, ages ranging from 10 to 15, were weak, disoriented, but alive. Clark lifted the smallest one, a girl who couldn't have been more than 11. "Can you walk?" he asked the others. They nodded, helping each other stand. Clark gestured to the freed prisoners from upstairs. "Get them out, all of them. There's an exit on the north side." "What about you?" the crystalline woman asked. "I'm not done yet." He descended to sublevel 4, the server rooms. This was why he'd let himself be captured. Physical evidence could be destroyed, witnesses intimidated, but data was different. Data could be backed up, distributed, made impossible to suppress.
The server room was behind biometric locks and encryption. Clark bypassed both by walking through the wall. Inside, rows of servers hummed quietly. Clark pulled out a USB drive he'd hidden in his boot. Butcher had given it to him days ago, just in case. He plugged it into the main terminal. The drive contained sophisticated hacking software, but Clark didn't need to understand the code. He just needed to copy everything. Employee records. Financial transactions. Video surveillance. Internal communications. Every piece of data Vought had stored in this facility. The transfer took 43 seconds that he pocketed the drive and turned to leave, then heard the sonic boom. Homelander crashed through the ceiling, landing in a crater of shattered concrete and twisted rebar. His eyes were wild, his famous smile completely absent. Behind him, Black Noir dropped through the same hole, silent and deadly. "You shouldn't have done that," Homelander said. His voice was shaking, with rage or fear, Clark couldn't tell. "Madeline gave you a chance. Join us. Be reasonable. But you had to be a hero." He laughed, high and broken. "Well, congratulations. You just signed your death warrant." "I'm not fighting you," Clark said. "You don't get a choice." Homelander's eyes blazed red, the heat vision came, focused, concentrated, everything Homelander had. Clark raised his hand, and the beam split harmlessly around him. He walked forward, through the attack, until he stood directly in front of Homelander. "I'm not your enemy," Clark said quietly. "Vought is. Vought made me." Homelander's voice cracked. "Everything I am, everything I have, it's because of them. And you're trying to destroy it. I'm trying to free you." Black Noir attacked from behind, silent, fast, lethal. Clark caught his wrist without looking, spun, and pushed him gently but irresistibly backward. Noir crashed into a server rack. Sparks flying. "I don't want your freedom." Homelander screamed. He charged, fists swinging with enough force to demolish buildings. Clark blocked each punch, not retaliating, just defending. I need, Homelander's attacks became more desperate, more wild. "I need them to tell me I'm good. To tell me I'm the best. To tell me I matter."
Clark caught both of Homelander's fists, held them gently but firmly. "You do matter. But not because Vought says so. Because you're a person, not a product." "I'm not a person." Homelander's voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm a weapon. That's all I've ever been." "That's what they told you. It doesn't make it true." For a moment, Homelander just stood there, trapped in Clark's gentle grip, his entire worldview crumbling. Then he wrenched free, stumbled backward, eyes wide with something like panic. "I can't. I don't." He looked at Black Noir, still extracting himself from the wrecked servers. "We need to contain him. Stop him. That's the mission." "The mission is a lie," Clark said. "Just like everything else." He turned and walked toward the exit. Homelander stood frozen, watching him go. Black Noir positioned for another attack, but Homelander raised a hand. "Let him go." Noir's head tilted in silent question. "I said, let him go." Homelander's voice echoed through the facility. "Just let him go." Clark ascended through the levels, collecting the escaped prisoners, ensuring everyone got out safely. The guards didn't try to stop him. By now, word had spread. The indestructible man was freeing everyone, and resistance was pointless. Outside, in the pre-dawn darkness, 37 people stood free. Children, prisoners, victims of Vought's experiments. Clark had called emergency services, ambulances already arriving. Huey came running from where the boys had been waiting at a safe distance. "Holy shit, you actually did it!" This was the easy part. Clark handed him the USB drive. "Get this to every news outlet, every government agency, every person who can make a difference. Copy it everywhere. Make it impossible to suppress." Butcher took the drive, examined it with something like reverence. "This is everything?" "Everything they stored here, including video of me reeing those children. Proof that I was helping, not attacking." Clark looked back at the facility. "They'll spin this, say I'm dangerous, say I'm a terrorist. But this time, there are witnesses, real ones, not actors or plants." Was already organizing transport for the freed prisoners. Frenchie was providing medical attention. The children huddled together, scared, but alive. Clark heard the sirens approaching, federal vehicles coming fast. He looked at Butcher. "Time to run," Butcher said. "No." Clark straightened his torn shirt, squared his shoulders. "Time to face what comes next." The footage went viral before dawn. Not Vought's carefully edited version, the real footage. Clark walking through bullets to free children. Guards standing down when they realized he wasn't there to hurt anyone. Prisoners helping each other escape. The youngest child clinging to his neck while he carried her to safety. And in the background, visible through security cameras, Homelander standing frozen, letting it happen. By 6 a.m., the hashtag #HadFreeSuperman had overtaken #ArrestSuperman. By 7 a.m., protests had started outside Vought Tower. By 8 a.m., 3 senators were calling for congressional hearings. Clark watched it unfold from the boys' hideout, where Butcher had insisted he stay. "You've got a target on your back the size of Manhattan. Let us handle logistics." The television showed dueling press conferences. On CNN, Madeline Stillwell looked exhausted, her makeup not quite hiding the strain. The individual known as Superman broke into a classified research facility and released dangerous, enhanced individuals. On another channel, one of the freed prisoners, the woman with crystalline skin, sat beside a sympathetic interviewer. "They held me for 3 years. No trial, no charges, just experiments. Testing my limits, breaking me down." Her voice shook. "He saved us. That man, Superman. He saved us." Clark's civilian phone rang. Sarah Chen, her voice tight but determined. "Kent, where the hell are you?" Following up on the story. "The story is everywhere. We printed it. Everything on that second drive. So did the Times, the Post, the Guardian." She paused. "Vaught's legal team is drowning. They can't suppress this many outlets simultaneously. And the witnesses, real people, real stories, real medical records, they can't discredit all of them. That was the plan. You used yourself as bait, got yourself captured to access their black site." She laughed, slightly hysterical. "That's either brilliantly strategic or completely insane. Maybe both."
Either way, it worked. Public opinion is shifting. Not everyone, plenty of people still think you're dangerous, but enough. Enough to make a difference. She paused. "I need you to come in. Give an interview. On the record. Tell your story." "I don't think that's, Clark. You've been operating in the shadows, letting your actions speak. But Vought owns the narrative machinery. They're good at this. If you want to win, you need to put a face to the heroism. A voice to the truth." Her tone softened. "Let people see who you really are." Clark looked at Butcher, who'd been listening. The scarred man shrugged. "She's not wrong. You're a symbol right now. Symbols are powerful, but people connect with people. And if I go public, Vought targets everyone I know. They're already doing that, mate. Might as well make it count." 3 hours later, Clark sat across from Sarah in the records conference room. She'd brought in her most experienced interviewer, a gray-haired woman named Patricia who'd covered everything from Watergate to Iraq. Patricia studied him for a long moment. "Before we start recording, I need to know, who are you?" "Really? My name is Clark Kent. I'm from Kansas. I'm a journalist." He paused. "And I'm not from this earth." Her eyebrows rose. "Explain." "Dimensional rift. I don't fully understand it myself. I was home, and then I was here. Same year, same date, but different world." He met her eyes. "In my world, I use my abilities to help people. Here, I'm trying to do the same thing. But your world has complications, mine doesn't. Like Vought." "Like Vought." She nodded slowly. "That's either the truth or the most creative cover story I've ever heard." She started the recording. "Let's begin." The interview lasted 2 hours. Clark told his story: the arrival, the satellite rescue, discovering Vought's experiments, the decision to expose them. Patricia didn't soften her questions. You destroyed property. Freed prisoners without legal authority. Acted as judge and executioner.
I freed people being held illegally and experimented on against their will. If that's a crime, I'll answer for it, but I won't apologize for it. Some say your power makes you dangerous, that no one should have that much strength without oversight. They're right to be concerned. Power without accountability is tyranny. Clark leaned forward. But Vought has power, legal, political, financial, and they've used it to exploit children, cover up deaths, and silence victims. Who holds them accountable? The law, the courts. The law they've bought? The courts they influence through campaign donations and political pressure? Clark shook his head. I'm not saying I'm above the law. I'm saying the law has been corrupted to protect people like Vought while prosecuting people like me. So you're a vigilante. I'm someone who helps people. When I see someone in danger, I don't check if saving them is legally authorized. I just act. He paused. Maybe that makes me a vigilante. But I'd rather be a vigilante who saves lives than a hero who lets people die because it's not profitable. Patricia leaned back. That's going to be your soundbite. You know that. I know. The interview aired at 6 p.m. By 7 p.m., it had 15 million views. By 8 p.m., Vought's stock had dropped another 12%. By 9 p.m., the Attorney General had announced a federal investigation into Vought's research practices. In Vought Tower, Madeline Stillwell watched the interview for the third time, her expression carved from ice. Around her, the executive board was in chaos. We need to contain this. How? He's everywhere, every channel, every platform. The investigation will destroy us. They'll find everything. Then we make sure they don't find anything. Madeline's voice cut through the panic. Purge the servers, destroy physical evidence, pay off witnesses, and find a way to neutralize Superman permanently. How? We've tried everything.
Not everything. She turned to the window, looking down at the protesters gathering below. We've been playing defense. Time to play offense. If we can't control him, we make the public afraid of him. Really afraid. How? Her smile was cold. We stage an incident. Something catastrophic. Something that looks like his fault. And we make sure there are casualties. Lots of them. In the boardroom, silence fell. Even by Vought standards, this was crossing a line. You're talking about killing civilians, Jenkins said quietly. American citizens. I'm talking about protecting a trillion-dollar enterprise. Madeline turned back to them. Superman made this personal when he attacked our facilities. Now we respond in kind. We show the world what happens when you let someone that powerful operate without control. She pulled up files on her tablet. We have assets. Enhanced individuals we've kept off the books. Unstable ones. Violent ones. We unleash them, make it look like Superman's interference disrupted our containment, and let nature take its course. And when Superman stops them, if he stops them without casualties, we say he staged it. If there are casualties, we say he caused them. She smiled. Either way, we control the narrative. We make him the villain. The board exchanged glances. No one spoke up. No one objected that they'd crossed the line without even noticing it was there. Across the city, Clark stood on a rooftop, using his hearing to track multiple conversations. He'd heard Madeline's plan. Heard the board's silence. Heard them decide to weaponize innocence against him. His phone rang. Butcher. You heard. Every word. Then you know what's coming. They're going to force your hand. Make you choose between your principles and protecting people. Clark looked at the city spread below him, millions of lights representing millions of lives. That's not a sea. Hoist. I protect people. Always. Even if it means becoming what they say you are. A threat? A weapon.
I'm not a weapon. Clark's voice was quiet but certain. I'm just someone who helps, and if they want to test that, let them, but they won't like what they find. He ended the call, watching the city breathe. Somewhere down there, Vought was preparing its final move, and somewhere in Vought Tower, a broken hero named Homelander was staring at his reflection, finally starting to understand what he'd become. The war was reaching its end. One way or another. The attacks started at noon, coordinated, simultaneous, devastating. Clark was in Brooklyn when the first call came, explosion at Grand Central Station. He was airborne before the second word, crossing the city in seconds, but by the time he arrived, the damage was done. The main terminal was a crater, smoke and screaming filling the air. He landed in the chaos, immediately searching for survivors. His X-ray vision picked out people trapped under rubble, and he began pulling them free. 30 seconds. 47 people rescued. Then the second explosion, Times Square. He hesitated for half a second. Grand Central still had victims, but Times Square was more densely populated, more casualties. He made the calculation and flew. The second he left, a third explosion rocked the Brooklyn Bridge. Clark's hearing caught all of it. The screams, the collapsing infrastructure, the panicked emergency calls. 3 major incidents, miles apart, happening simultaneously, designed to be impossible for one person to handle. He reached Times Square, finding another crater. But this one was different. In the center stood a figure, enhanced, unstable, eyes wild with compound V psychosis. The man's skin rippled with energy, building toward another detonation. "Hey!" Clark landed between him and the fleeing crowd. "Stop, please. You don't have to do this." The enhanced individual laughed, voice distorted. "They said you'd come, said you'd try to save everyone. Can't do it, can you? Can't be everywhere at once." He exploded. Clark absorbed the blast with his body, shielding the civilians behind him. The force drove him back 3 feet, concrete shattering beneath his heels. When the light faded, the enhanced individual was gone, disintegrated by his own power. But on Clark's super hearing, he caught it. A 4th location, the subway system, flooding, hundreds trapped underground. He flew toward it, but his hearing picked up something else, the news coverage. Every channel was broadcasting the attacks, and the narrative was already forming. Superman's interference with Vaught's containment protocols. Enhanced individuals he freed from the New Jersey facility. Witnesses say he arrived at Grand Central, and moments later, they were blaming him. The attacks were being framed as his fault. Clark reached the subway, tearing through the station entrance. Water was pouring in from a ruptured main line, filling the tunnels. He moved at super speed, evacuating passengers, sealing the breach with a crushed subway car, his hands moving faster than human eyes could track. 200 people saved. But while he was underground, the Brooklyn Bridge's support cables snapped. He heard it collapse, heard the vehicles falling, heard the screams. He burst from the subway, flying toward the bridge. Vehicles were tumbling toward the East River, people trapped inside. Clark caught the first car, then the second, moving in a blur. Caught a falling motorcycle, a bus, a delivery truck. But he couldn't catch them all. A sedan hit the water, sinking fast. Family inside. Clark dove, grabbed the car, pulled it back to shore. But in those 5 seconds, 2 more vehicles fell. By the time he saved them, 3 more. He was fast. Impossibly fast. But not fast enough. The final toll. 6 vehicles he couldn't reach, 14 people dead. Clark stood on the Brooklyn shore, dripping with river water, staring at his hands. He'd saved hundreds, but 14 died because he couldn't be everywhere, couldn't move fast enough, couldn't save them all. The news helicopters circled like vultures. Superman's rescue attempts caused additional structural damage. Question his role in these attacks, whether his presence escalated. 14 confirmed fatalities that might have been prevented.
On a rooftop in Manhattan, Homelander watched the coverage, his expression unreadable. Madeline stood beside him, her smile satisfied. "You see," she said. "No matter how powerful he is, he's not perfect. And imperfection can be exploited." "Those people died," Homelander said quietly. "Those people were acceptable losses. Sacrifices to protect Vought's future." She gestured at the screens. "By tomorrow, public opinion will turn completely. Superman will be seen as dangerous, reckless, a threat that needs to be controlled. And the 7, you, will be positioned as the responsible alternative. We released those enhanced individuals. We caused those explosions. We created an opportunity." Madeline touched his arm. "This is what leadership looks like. Making hard choices for the greater good." Homelander pulled away from her touch. For the first time, he really looked at her. Saw past the maternal warmth, the careful manipulation, the performance. Saw the cold calculation beneath. "Greater good," he repeated. 14 people are dead. 14 people versus Vought's survival. Versus everything we've built. Versus you. Her smile hardened. "Don't go soft now. Not when we're winning." Homelander turned back to the screens, watching Clark pull another survivor from the water. Watching him try so hard to save everyone. Watching him fail. "He's not the problem," Homelander said quietly. "What?" "Superman isn't the problem. He's trying to help. Actually help." Homelander's voice gained strength. "We're the problem. We caused this. Killed those people. And you're smiling about it." Madeline's expression went cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm done." Homelander stepped off the roof, hovering. "I'm not doing this anymore. Any of it. If you walk away, I'll destroy you. Every dirty secret, every person you've killed, every lie you've told, it all goes public." Homeland looked at her, and for the first time in years, his smile was genuine. "Good. Let it out. All of it. I'm tired of the lies."
He flew toward Brooklyn, toward Clark, leaving Madeline alone on the rooftop with her mouth open. Clark was still pulling survivors from the water when Homelander landed beside him. The cameras caught it. America's premier hero and the controversial vigilante standing together among the wreckage. "I need to tell you something," Homelander said, "about the attacks. They weren't random." Clark looked at him, water dripping from his torn shirt. "I know. I heard the planning." "You knew? And you still—" Homelander gestured at the saved people, the rescued cars. "You still tried to save everyone." "What else would I do?" Homelander stared at him, something breaking in his chest. "I don't know. I've never known." He took a breath. "Vought orchestrated this, released the enhanced individuals, planted the explosives, timed it so you couldn't save everyone. They wanted you to fail. I did fail. 14 people died. You saved hundreds." Homelander's voice cracked. "I've let hundreds die because it wasn't convenient. Because there were no cameras. Because Madeline said it wasn't worth the effort." He looked at the cameras circling overhead. "I'm going to tell them. Everything. Every crime. Every cover-up. Every lie." Clark placed a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to do this alone." "Yes, I do." Homelander smiled, sad and genuine. "For once in my life, I need to choose the right thing, no matter what it costs." He flew upward toward the nearest news helicopter. Clark watched him go, then heard another call. Structure fire in Queens. People trapped. He launched into the air, toward the next crisis, toward the next chance to help. Behind him, on every screen in the city, Homelander began to speak. And with every word, Vought's empire started to crumble. Homelander gripped the news helicopter's landing skid, his face level with the camera. The cameraman's hands shook, but he kept filming. This was the shot of a lifetime. "My name is John," Homelander said. Not his hero name. His real name. The one Vought barely acknowledged. "I was born in a laboratory 38 years ago. Vought International injected me with Compound V when I was hours old. They raised me in isolation, trained me to smile for cameras, taught me that saving people was a business transaction." He paused, gathering
strength. "Everything you know about me is a lie. Everything you know about the Seven is a lie. And today, I'm going to tell you the truth." Every news outlet cut to the feed. Millions watched. The attacks today, Grand Central, Times Square, the Brooklyn Bridge, Vought orchestrated them. They released enhanced individuals from black site facilities, planted explosives, timed the attacks to overwhelm Superman. His voice hardened. They killed 14 people to frame him. To protect their profits. To maintain control. In Vought Tower, Ashley Barrett screamed into 3 phones simultaneously. "Cut the feed. Kill the broadcast. Get him off the air." But it was too late. Every network had picked it up. Every phone was recording. The confession was everywhere. "Flight 37, Homelander continued, his voice breaking. 2 years ago. Queen Maeve and I responded to a hijacking. I accidentally damaged the controls with my heat vision. The plane was going down. We could have saved some of them, maybe not all, but some. I told Maeve we were leaving. That there were no cameras on the plane, so there was no point." He looked directly at the lens. 115 people died because I didn't think their lives were worth the effort." The helicopter's reporter found her voice. "Why are you telling us this?" "Because someone showed me what real heroism looks like." Homelander glanced toward where Clark had been, now gone to another emergency. "He saves everyone. No cameras, no contracts, no calculation. He just helps. And I realized I've never done that. Not once. Everything I've done was for approval, for ratings, for Vought's bottom line. What happens to you now? I go to prison. I face trial. I answer for every crime." He smiled, and for the first time it reached his eyes. "I stop being their weapon." Madeline Stillwell burst onto the tower's observation deck, phone presa. D to her ear. "Get a train. Get Black Noir. Get anyone who can bring him down. Physically if necessary." But the Seven's response was not what she expected. Queen Maeve appeared on another news channel, her own confession already prepared. "Everything Homelander just said is true. I was there for Flight 37. I wanted to help, and he stopped me. I've been complicit in Vought's crimes for 2 decades. Today, that ends."
The Deep posted a video statement online. "They told me to assault people, said it was part of the lifestyle, part of being a hero. I did it because I was afraid of losing my spot on the Seven. I'm done being afraid." A-Train's statement was shorter. "I killed Robin Wardwell. Ran through her during a publicity stunt. Vought paid her family to stay quiet. I never even apologized." One by one, the Seven were confessing. The dam had broken. Ashley's phone rang. The board of directors. She answered, her hands trembling. "Stillwell is out." The chairman's voice was ice. "Effective immediately. Your interim CEO. Fix this, however you can." "How am I supposed to make it go away? Pay whoever needs to be paid. Threaten whoever needs to be threatened. And find a way to shut Superman up permanently." The line went dead. Ashley stared at her phone, at the dozens of news alerts, at her reflection in the darkened screen. She was 34 years old. She'd spent 10 years climbing Vought's ladder, compromising every principle she'd ever had, becoming exactly what they wanted. And now, they wanted her to fix the unfixable. She walked to Madeline's office, her office now, and found the older woman packing her belongings into a box. Madeline looked up, her perfect composure finally cracked. "They're throwing me to the wolves," Madeline said, "making me the scapegoat for everything. Board will claim they had no knowledge of my operations." She laughed bitterly. 20 years building this empire, and they erase me in a phone call. "What do I do?" Ashley asked. "You do what they tell you. You sacrifice whoever you need to sacrifice. You lie, manipulate, and destroy until either Vought survives or you're the next scapegoat." Madeline closed the box. "That's the job. That's what we signed up for." Ashley looked at her, really looked at her, and saw her own future. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, replaced and erased the moment she stopped being useful. "No," Ashley said quietly. "What? I'm not doing it." Ashley felt something strange, relief, maybe, or just exhaustion. "I'm not sacrificing anyone else, not covering up any more crimes, not pretending this is fixable. Then you're finished. Vought will destroy you. Vought is already destroyed. We're just too stubborn to admit it." Ashley pulled out her phone, began drafting an email. "I have files, everything Madeline doesn't know I backed up. Every crime, every cover-up, every body. I'm sending it to the Attorney General, the SEC, and every major news outlet." Madeline's face went white. "You'll go to prison." "Probably. But so will everyone else who deserves it." Ashley hit send, watched the files upload. "For once, I'm going to be on the right side of something." She walked out, leaving Madeline alone in the office with her box of belongings and the weight of 20 years of sins. Across the city, Clark pulled the last victim from the Queen's fire, a child, barely breathing. He flew her to the nearest hospital, gently transferring her to the waiting doctors. His uniform was scorched, his cape torn, his face streaked with ash. A doctor approached him hesitantly. "You saved 40 people from that building. 40. 14 died at the bridge," Clark said quietly. "Because one person can't be everywhere. Because you're not God, you're just..." The doctor paused. "Just someone trying to help. That's more than most people do." Clark's phone buzzed. "Butcher. You need to see this. Homelander's confessing. Everyone's confessing. Vaught's collapsing in real time. Is it over?" "Not yet." Butcher's voice was grim. "Cornered animals are the most dangerous. Watch your back." Clark looked up at the sky, at the news helicopters circling, at the city that had become his temporary home. Somewhere in Vought Tower, desperate people were making desperate plans. But for the first time since arriving in this world, he wasn't fighting alone. Homelander had chosen truth over comfort. Maeve had chosen confession over complicity. Ashley had chosen exposure over self-preservation. One by one, people were making the hard choice. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe,
but because it was right. Clark launched into the sky, listening to the city, ready for whatever came next. The war was almost over, just one more battle to fight. The emergency alert came at 9 p.m. Not to emergency services. Not to the police. Direct to Clark's phone, a video message from a restricted number. The screen showed a warehouse. Inside, 40 people, civilians, bound and gagged, terror in their eyes. The camera panned to reveal Compound V canisters rigged to explosives, enough to level 6 city blocks. A distorted voice spoke, "Superman. You've destroyed everything we built. Turned our heroes against us. Poisoned the public's trust. So now you get a choice." The camera moved to a second location, a hospital, St. Vincent's in Brooklyn. Patients, doctors, nurses. Hundreds of people. 2 locations. 2 bombs. Both will detonate in 30 minutes. You can't reach both in time. You can't save everyone. The voice paused. So choose. Who lives? Who dies? Play God, just like you've been doing. The transmission ended. Clark stood frozen for 3 seconds, the longest 3 seconds of his life. Then his mind kicked into overdrive. 30 minutes. 2 locations. Distance between them, 42 miles that he could reach one, disarm it, evacuate everyone. But while he did that, the other would detonate, unless his phone rang. Butcher. We saw the transmission. They sent it to every news outlet. Entire cities watching. Butcher's voice was tight. This is their endgame. Force you to choose, then blame you for whoever dies. I need Homelander, Clark said. What? He can reach one location while I reach the other. He's fast enough, strong enough. It's the only way.
Mate, he just confessed to letting a plane full of people die. You think he's suddenly... I think he wants to be better. I think he needs to be better. Clark was already moving, flying toward Vought Tower. Call him, tell him where to go, trust me. He hung up, pushed himself faster than he'd ever flown in this world. The sonic boom shattered windows below. He didn't care. Vought Tower came into view. Clark crashed through the observation deck window, glass exploding inward. The room was empty except for one person, Madeline Stillwell, sitting at her desk, a glass of whiskey in hand. Where's Homelander? Clark demanded. Gone. Turned himself into federal custody an hour ago. She smiled, bitter and broken. Took my advice for once. Chose the right side. She gestured at the screens showing the 2 bomb locations. Looks like you're on your own. You did this, kidnapped those people, set the bombs. I did what was necessary to protect Vought. Madeline stood, steady despite the alcohol. You're not a hero. You're a weapon that doesn't follow orders, a threat that needs to be eliminated. And if 40 or 300 people have to die to prove that, so be it. Clark's eyes began to glow red, not heat vision, just barely contained fury. You're willing to murder hundreds of people to what? Prove a point? To save Vought? To preserve order? To show the world what happens when you let someone like you operate without control? She raised her glass in mock toast. Go ahead, save one location, let the other burn. Become exactly what I've been telling everyone you are, a threat who can't save everyone, shouldn't try to save everyone, and will always fail when it matters most. Clark stared at her for one long moment. Then he turned and flew. He hit Mach 4 over the city, his mind racing faster than his body. 23 minutes left. The warehouse was closer. He could evacuate. Aid everyone. Disarm the bomb. But the hospital had 3 times as many people. Raw numbers said hospital. But the people in the warehouse were specifically targeted because of him, kidnapped to punish him. Homelander was in custody. The 7 were confessing. No one else could help. Just him. Not fast enough, not powerful enough, not able to be in 2 places at once.
For the first time since arriving in this world, Clark felt truly helpless. His phone buzzed. Incoming call. Unknown number. He answered while flying. Superman. A familiar voice. Queen Maeve. I heard about the bombs. I'm 5 minutes from the warehouse. Tell me how to disarm it. Maeve, you can't. The compound V is rigged to explode if tampered with, then I don't tamper. I contain it. Her voice was steady, certain. I've got enough strength to hold a blast temporarily. Get the people out. I'll handle the bomb. You'll die. Probably. She laughed, soft and sad. Spent 20 years being a fake hero. Time to be a real one. Just this once. Maeve, go save the hospital, Superman. Let me save the warehouse. She paused. This is my choice. Let me make it. The line went dead. Clark changed trajectory, flying toward St. Vincent's Hospital. Behind him, his super hearing caught Maeve landing at the warehouse, beginning evacuation. Her voice calm, professional, getting people to safety. He reached the hospital with 14 minutes left. The bomb was in the basement, sophisticated, impossible to disarm without triggering. He could contain the blast with his body, but the building would collapse. 300 people, many unable to move, some in surgery. He began evacuating. Floor by floor, room by room, moving faster than he'd ever moved. Patients in his arms, 2 at a time, 3 at a time. Doctors protesting, then understanding, then helping. Moving the immobile, organizing chaos. 8 minutes left. Half the building evacuated. His hearing caught the warehouse. Maeve's voice, strained, 37 people out. 3 left. Come on, move, move. 5 minutes left. 2/3 of the hospital cleared, then the explosion. Not the warehouse, smaller, different location. Clark's hearing triangulated instantly. The Bronx. Another bomb, not mentioned in the video. A third location.
A school. Clark froze mid-flight, a patient in each arm, 3 locations. Not 2. They'd lied, and he couldn't reach all 3. Maeve's voice cracking. I've got the warehouse. Bombs contained. Detonating in... The explosion was massive even by her standards. Clark heard her scream, heard the compound 5 ignite, heard the warehouse collapse. Silence. Maeve's heartbeat. Gone. 2 minutes left at the hospital. Unknown time at the school. Clark made his choice. He flew. Clark reached the school in 4 seconds. The bomb was in the gymnasium, timer at 47 seconds. Children inside, nighttime basketball practice, 30 kids, 2 coaches. No time to evacuate, no time to disarm, only one choice. He grabbed the bomb, cradled it against his chest, and flew straight up. The city fell away beneath him, lights, buildings, millions of lives continuing unaware. He pushed harder, faster, breaking through clouds, through the troposphere, into the thin air of the stratosphere. The bomb detonated at 70,000 feet. The explosion was visible from the ground, a new sun blooming in the night sky. Compound Phi ignited in a chain reaction, energy tearing through the atmosphere. Clark held the center of it, his body absorbing the blast, containing it, keeping it from raining down on the city below. It burned. God, it burned. Not his skin, that was invulnerable. But the energy itself, the raw power of the compound Viv reaction, it pushed against him in ways nothing else in this world had. For the first time since arriving here, Clark felt genuine pain. He held on. The explosion lasted 7 seconds. When it faded, Clark floated in the silence of near space, his costume scorched, his cape gone, his body smoking but intact. Below, the city was safe. The hospital, he'd evacuated 240 patients before leaving. Maeve had saved everyone in the warehouse before the blast took her, and the school, 32 children who'd never know how close they came to death. Clark descended slowly, drifting back through layers of atmosphere. His hearing picked up the city's response. Sirens, news broadcasts, millions of conversations. Did you see that? The explosion. Superman flew the bomb into space. Queen Maeve died saving the warehouse. All 3 locations, everyone survived except... He landed on the roof of St. Vincent's Hospital, where emergency crews were still organizing the evacuated patients. A doctor saw him, stared at his burned uniform, and ran over. You're hurt. I'm fine. Clark's voice was hoarse. Everyone here? 243 patients, all accounted for. Thanks to you. The doctor's eyes were wet. You saved them all. Not all. Clark looked toward where the warehouse had been. Maeve gave us time to save 37 people. We found her in the rubble. The doctor shook his head. She held that explosion long enough for everyone to escape. Died a hero. Clark closed his eyes. 1 death, out of hundreds of potential casualties. By any metric, this was a victory. But it didn't feel like one. His phone rang. Butcher, his voice tight. You're alive. Barely. The 3rd bomb. How did you know? I didn't. I guessed. Clark sat heavily on the roof's edge. Vought wanted me to fail. Wanted me to choose wrong, so I assumed they'd stack the deck. You assumed right. Found evidence of the 3rd device in Madeline's office. She'd planned it from the start. make you choose, then detonate the third location while you were saving the first two. Butcher paused. Maeve's sacrifice threw off the timing. Gave you those extra seconds.
She saved everyone. No, mate. You both did. Butcher's voice softened. Homelander's talking to the feds. Giving them everything. Ashley's cooperating. The board of directors is being arrested. Vought's finished. Actually finished this time. Clark looked at the city spread below him, millions of lights, millions of lives, continuing in the darkness. What happens now? Now? Congressional hearings. Trials. Years of legal proceedings. Compound V gets regulated or banned. The 7 gets disbanded. Enhanced individuals get actual oversight instead of corporate ownership. Butcher chuckled grimly. Basically, the world starts figuring out how to do this right. And me? That's the interesting part. Butcher's tone shifted. The Attorney General wants to meet with you. Unofficial. Off the record. Discuss terms. Terms? You're too powerful to prosecute. Too popular to suppress. And too useful to ignore. They want to make a deal. You keep helping people, they stop trying to arrest you. Provisional agreement. New framework for enhanced individuals operating independently. Clark was silent for a long moment. I just wanted to help. I know. That's why it's working. Butcher paused. Huey wants to talk to you. Says thanks. His girlfriend Robin, her death is what started all this for him. Seeing Vought finally face justice, it means everything. Tell him he's welcome. Tell him yourself. We're meeting at the hideout tomorrow. Strategy session. Figure out next steps. Butcher's voice carried something Clark had never heard from him before, respect. You're part of the team now. Whether you like it or not. Clark smiled slightly. I'll be there. He ended the call and sat on the roof, watching the sunrise. His first sunrise in this world had been confusing, disorienting, wrong. This one felt different. Still not home. But maybe, just maybe, home enough, his hearing cog. HT footsteps behind him. He turned to see Homelander, no, John, walking onto the roof. He wasn't in costume. Just jeans, a t-shirt, and handcuffs. They let you out? Clark asked.
Temporary release, medical evaluation. John gestured at the 2 federal agents waiting by the roof access door. Saw the explosion, heard what you did. I had to see if you survived. I did. Yeah. John sat beside him, handcuffs clinking. Maeve didn't. She chose to be a hero. A real one. Because of you. John stared at the sunrise. You showed up in our world and reminded us what that word actually means. Not a brand, not a franchise, just doing the right thing, even when it costs everything. They sat in silence for a moment. I'm going to prison, John said finally. Long time. Maybe forever. I deserve it. What you did was terrible, but it wasn't entirely your fault. Vought made you. I still did it. Made the choices. Let people die. John's voice was steady. But maybe, after I've paid for what I've done, I can be something else. Something better. He looked at Clark. Think that's possible? I think anyone can choose to be better. It's just harder for some than others. What about you? You staying in this world? Clark thought about home, about Ma and Pa, about the farm, about his earth and the people who needed him there. I don't know how to get back. Don't even know if it's possible. But if you could, then I'd have a choice to make. Clark looked at the city. This world needs help, real help. Not corporate heroes, not manufactured products, just people trying to do the right thing. You can't save everyone. No. Clark's voice was quiet. But I can try, and that has to be enough. The federal agents approached, gesturing to John. Time to return to custody. John stood, then extended his hand to Clark. Thank you, he said simply, for showing me there was another way. Clark shook his hand. Thank you for taking it.
John walked away with the agents. Clark stood alone on the roof, the sun rising over a city that had become his responsibility. Not through choice. Not through planning. Just through circumstance and the simple fact that he could help. Below, people were waking up. Going to work. Living their lives. Safe because he'd been there. Because Maeve had chosen sacrifice. Because Homelander, John, had chosen truth. Because ordinary people like Butcher and Huey had fought against impossible odds, not because of powers. Because of choices. His phone buzzed one more time. A text from an unknown number. Thank you for saving our daughter. St. Vincent's, room 347. We wanted you to know her name, Sarah. She's 5. She wants to meet Superman. Clark looked at the message, then at the hospital below. Smiled that he had time before the meeting with Butcher. Time to visit a 5-year-old girl. Time to remind himself why any of this mattered. That he stood at the roof's edge, the morning sun on his face, the city waking beneath him. Not his Earth. Not his home. But a place that needed heroes, real ones, and for now, that was enough. Clark jumped, caught an updraft, and flew toward room 347. Toward Sarah, toward hope. Clark Kent's byline appeared in the New York Record 3 times a week now. Investigative journalism. Holding power accountable. The stories that mattered. Vought International was bankrupt, its assets liquidated, its executives facing trial. The 7 was disbanded. Compound V was regulated under international law, its production limited to medical applications with strict oversight. Homelander, John, was serving life in a specialized facility. By all accounts, he was cooperative, remorseful, meeting with therapists and victims' families. Working toward redemption that might never come but was worth pursuing anyway. And Superman, they'd never stopped calling him that, still flew over East City. Still saved people. Still refused payment or official sanction. The provisional agreement with the government held, he helped, they didn't interfere, and everyone benefited. On quiet nights, Clark still looked at the stars and wondered if he'd ever find his way home.
But on busy days, when a child smiled after being rescued, or a victim thanked him with tears in their eyes, or he saw how his presence had inspired others to simply be better, on those days, home seemed like a negotiable concept. Truth, justice, and hope. They worked in any universe.